Where am I? What's going on? Oh, here we go. Hey, y'all. Hello! Yeah, just clap. Yeah. Everybody clap! What's up, guys? How you doing? Welcome in. Welcome in. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see it. Chat's popping off. I love you, Twitch. You guys are awesome. Caliban. Benefit. Daya Missiles. Yui! Welcome in, everybody. Maverick, Nurgle, Sensei, Space Marine, Mr. Blarkin. 07's Benefit, man. What's up, everyone? Matt, Sully, and Fellow over there holding it down on YouTube, though. Thank you, guys. Snipey, Max. Oh, shoot, Max. Yo, good to see you. Welcome to the chat, man. Ambassador Kobe and Mr. Alex Moore, YouTube. I know you're coming in. You're going to be interested in today. We got a letter. We got a letter, folks. The 2025 letter from the chairman is out. And it's not it's not all smiles and excitement just because, you know, we want to hear these letters. It's smiles and excitement because these are always a very funny look at the year ahead. They're never fully accurate. They're always a little more bright and optimistic than you probably should be. And for years I've taken them a bit too literally. This year, we're going to go through this together and look at what Chris Roberts has to say about the year overall and what he's going to say about the year ahead, what he might have to say about Squadron 42. I have no idea, guys, what kind of news is in this. I haven't looked at anybody's reactions to it. I know nothing, so don't spoil anything for me, please, in the chat or anybody else. We're going to work through this on our own. After we're done with this, though, I've got a whole bunch of tabs here from the top you might be able to see. Well, we're going to go through the entirety of 2025. What happened? How did it happen? How do we feel about it happening? And what does it mean about what comes next? Alongside this little review, we'll be following the roadmap of the year, as well as the polls that I was doing throughout the year, asking people how happy they were about the game itself. So we're going to take the whole approach to what happened in 2025, starting with the letter from the chairman. So I hope you guys are excited. Thank you for joining me for this one. Sorry we're so late. I had a little bit of a doctor's visit this morning. It's okay, I'm not dying. But they did tell me that I might actually not be a tomato. So we have a follow-up appointment in a couple weeks for that. I'll be checking back in with them. For now, we're not going to jump to any conclusions. They said not to change my diet or activity or anything like that, but it is something to keep an eye on. And obviously, we'll have to make an announcement about that if certain news comes out. But stay tuned. Thank you for the subs. Starting off the day, Zoster. Much love, dude. Appreciate you. 26 months, my man, has been out here holding it down. Arctic Wolf, thank you. 25 months. That's like a little bit of a race, I think. A little bit of competition there. I don't know. Having a wonderful day, I hope, and a good week. Now we're getting all these notifications for like stream streaks. Twitch out here. Making us feel, I don't know, different kinds of ways. 98 Infinity, good to see ya. Thank you for the sub, dude. Appreciate you. 2 months. Little holidays sub. Thanksgiving, Christmas, those are the holidays, you know. Mr. Right Now, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Take a seat. Doinks, good to see you. There is standing room if you'd like to stand, but please take a seat, join us. And Fangs, waiting for your take on the letter. Well, thanks for joining, dude. Azrin, good to see you. We're just giving people a little cool minute to slide on in here before we get started. We're all dying. It could take up to 100 years, though. Well, yeah, you know. He comes out and he's just like, hey, guys, I don't think you're going to make this. Unfortunately, I think many of you will pass away by the time I'm done with this game. Oh, okay, Chris. It is actually a sad reality, though, that games take long enough nowadays that some of us actually don't get to see them through, which is unfortunate. How did the tomato get into space to become a space tomato? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't enjoy it there. Tomatoes don't do well in space. Need a lot of pressurization. I was going to say need a lot of vacuum, but that doesn't make sense. 07's Randy. Good to see you. Star Mage. Welcome in. Data Freak. Do you have any guesses on what it will say before you read? I think it's going to be really milquetoast this year, to be quite honest. I do not expect anything really major to come out of this letter from the chairman. I think Chris Roberts has very much been relegated, we'll say, to a different kind of message. If you watch the podcast from this weekend, me and Paul, he was on, and we talk about this a little bit. Chris Roberts, he's not really there that much anymore, at least not in front of people. I think it's fine if he's in the background doing his micro or macro managing, whatever he likes to do. Although I do think that also has been pulled back a bit, but definitely he is not able to say as much, and I think this letter will probably reflect that. That being said, we don't get much messaging on Squadron 42, and if there was anybody who was going to get to say something important about Squadron 42, it'd be him. So I think this would be a solid chance for him to announce a delay for the game. Do I think there's going to be one? No. I think I probably already would have been messaged about it if there was, to be honest. So I'm guessing that doesn't happen. Blazer Prime, thank you for the Prime sub, dude. That fits with the name. Olive Gang. Gang, gang, gang. Olive Gang, gang, gang. Olive. I hate olives. But thank you for the Prime sub, man. Much love. I'm going to get my Santa hat. That's right. Because I feel very naked right now. I'm going to get my Santa hat, and then we're going to jump into this, all right? Give me 1 minute. Okay. All right. Okay. Real quick before we move on, so that you don't leave. We are going to be pulling the giveaway winner for the Drake Clipper after. Thank you very much. This reading. We will hype train. Bro, I haven't even started yet. Getting hyped? Prematurely hyped? All right, I appreciate it though. We're gonna hit up the toes board. I just want to let you toes board. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a funny miss-up. We are going to be giving away a new ship. We're going to be announcing the winner of the Drake Clipper giveaway. And then we are going to be starting off a new ship giveaway that'll be running for this week. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Mrs. Tomato gets that honor. But she's working on it right now, so stay tuned. In the meantime, Mr. Thorne. Toast Gang. Whew, that was a lot of writing last time. That's from the Streamathon. That was a setup. The real question for the audience, are you on the naughty or nice list this year? Let me ask you this. Is anybody expecting to get a ship for Christmas? I never really thought about that until this year because I started to hear that like kids are starting to ask a lot more for in-game currencies and even like hacking tools and stuff, which is surprising. But I was wondering, is that a popular thing with Christmas, Star Citizen? Thank you, Thorn. One up on the Toes Gang board. Appreciate you. Hermes giveaway. We'll see. You've been at this for years. We know what sort of content to expect. Nothing premature about it. Premature is a funny word. Yeah, if you guys win this giveaway, by the way, it can go to a friend. It can go to somebody you know if you want to introduce someone to the game. You don't have to take the ship. You don't even have to use it. You can keep it in your own store credit. Put towards something else later. Benefit Man, thanks for the bits, dude. All right, let's get into this. Every year, Chris Roberts, CEO and creator of Star Citizen, leaves a little letter for the people to talk about his thoughts, what might have gone on behind the scenes, and what's coming up in the future. Oops, that's him. A lot of these letters are over-optimistic. There's going to be a lot in here that might or might not happen. There's going to be a lot in here that may paint a pretty picture of the past year. I'm going to try and take a more neutral approach here. Some people might say I'm being a little hateful or negative. Some people might say I'm being too positive. Either way, my biases will be on show, I'm sure. But the point of this letter is to give us some perspective from somebody who honestly doesn't get to talk that much around this game anymore, for different reasons. And to kind of, I think, give us an update on the health of the game. Problem is, they don't give us the best numbers. Like, there was one letter maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say, that had a great... It had some graphs. It had at least some relatively useful numbers about unique players throughout months or years. And I think that was a great one, but they don't really do that as much anymore. So I think that's a missing opportunity. Either way, we will be going over last year's or this year's soon and the rest of the year behind that. But first, let's look at this letter from the chairman for 2025. Channel extra points is not working. All right, Mrs. Tomato, I'm sure it is on it. You mean the redeemable for the new giveaway? Keep an eye out for it. All right, let's get into it. As we wrap up 2025, I want to take a moment to reflect on the year and what it's meant for all of us. 2025 became the year of playability for Star Citizen. I think it's not stability, it's playability. That people keep getting that mixed up. It was a year when more people played than ever before and spent more time in the verse than at any point in our history. That momentum did not happen by chance. It came from a focused effort to improve quality of life, performance, and reliability, and to make the gameplay experience more engaging and more rewarding to return to. This is true. Doesn't mean that the game is great or perfect, but there is definitely a focus to try and make the game a little bit more palatable. I mean, it was literally, that was what they said in the beginning of this year, that their focus was to stop putting new features in and creating instability, hindering performance, and impacting overall gameplay. Instead, they wanted to focus more on decoupling feature development from content creation and general fixes, meaning no new features in the content delivery pipeline, which we kind of saw because we missed out on features quite a bit. What we didn't see was the ePTU being used. But outside of that, you know, they did start to focus a little bit more on stability, predictability, and most importantly, what is mentioned here, content. Content. As much as people come back for the fixes, a lot of folks came back because they felt like there was more to actually do in the areas that they were interested in, cargo hauling, mining, salvage, stuff like that. He said, we started the year with 2 goals as a company: to improve stability and quality of life in Star Citizen while continuing to deliver regular content updates, and to push Squadron 42 towards beta and release in 2026. I'm happy to say we've made great progress on both fronts. I can't speak towards that second one. maybe he will more here. All right, here's the Star Citizen part. 2025 saw a number of important pieces come together. We released not 1 but 2 star systems in a single year, welcomed the return of the beloved landing zone Levski, and added new locations around the verse, opening more space to explore and spend time in. Server meshing was the key technology that made all this possible. With the release of 4.0.1 to the live environment on January 28th, we moved into a bigger, more performant and stable universe. Took a little bit to figure itself out, but okay. And while there were a few hiccups with some legacy systems like the elevators and air traffic control that were built long before server meshing was conceived, server meshing itself has been working flawlessly since the beginning. Was it flawless? A testament to the design and execution of the system by our network backend engine and gameplay teams. I'll double down on that. They did a great job. Can't say that it felt super flawless, but the fact that it's working incredibly well. I don't think it even needed to be flawless when it came out, but like, I think the folks working on the tech proved themselves. It took a while, but they proved themselves this year, and that might be the biggest highlight of the whole year. Sir Walkman, thanks for tuning in, dude. Every day, it handles tens of thousands of players playing concurrently in shared instances of up to 700 players. Okay, so even right there, he's whipping out the idea that there are tens of thousands of people playing concurrently every day. Is there any other way to translate this sentence other than they're reaching multiple tens of thousands of people every day playing the game at the same time? Because that's pretty incredibly healthy for a game in this state, if true. I would have the most confidence if that's true. Like if I was running this game and there were genuinely 20 to 30,000 people coming in playing at the same time every time, that would be incredible. We get stats later on. Okay, we'll get back to that then. For something that simulates everything to the level of detail we do at the scale we do in first and third person, this is a truly mind-boggling achievement. Most other multiplayer games top out at between 50 to 100 players in a much more contained space than we allow you to explore in Star Citizen. And the MMOs with high player counts in the same instance don't simulate and render the world to the extent we do. As multiple servers now manage our vast universe, the individual server performance has greatly increased, creating a much better experience for all of you. And due to its design with a separate service that tracks the state of the universe for all servers and clients, it allows us to quickly recover from a client or server crash without losing your progress, which is a huge quality of life win. This has been a great change to the game, one of the biggest changes as well. It's a knock-on effect of server meshing, but basically, it's actually pretty funny. They laid this out with a really nice previs back in 2021, and it shows you exactly what happens with server meshing when there's a crash. I mean, not exactly what happens. It's probably a little bit. Oh my gosh, that's what's happening. It's creating proxies of everything. It's probably a little bit simplified, but the idea is basically that we have. So the game is here, running on the servers, right? And these servers are meshed. They're all performing and running the same exact thing. It's just that any one of them has authority over the other. But these servers use the replication layer to communicate with us. So that's how we play the game. We connect through the game, through the replication layer, and the replication layer also simultaneously pulls everything from the database to populate the servers. So it separates the actual database and communications and all the stuff going on, or not the stuff going on, but all the information from the actual simulation, which means that the simulation can die at any point and you don't lose the information. So whenever there's a server crash, that's why all your stuff is still there when you get back. Whenever you have a client crash, that's why a lot of times you'll end up back in the same spot. It doesn't work every time, and it can be incredibly annoying, but they released this little animation just to show that while the servers are going down, all that information is still good. You still have that flow of tech that keeps you in the loop. Other games and other services do this kind of thing, but this was such a big part of holding back Star Citizen. The instability, the lack of scale, the inability for them to start building services on top of an actual backend rather than whatever they were using from CryEngine back in the day. It made a big difference, and I don't like he's not overplaying it here. It's probably the most important thing of the year. I would love to hear more communication on the next parts of it, but I do think that they've done a really good job with getting server meshing into the game, and it has kind of proven the model that they're going after. Let's see, where were we? I think I read all that. We also shipped more mission content and in-game events than ever before this year. This is the more controversial and maybe more subjective part. That included large-scale moments like teaming up to take on an irradiated Apex Valakar, or coming face-to-face with the Yormandi, as well as, or my favorite way of pronouncing it, the Yormandi, as well as longer-running storylines that helped add depth and context to the verse. The environments continued to evolve as well. Expanded weather effects and planetary conditions helped make locations feel more distinct and atmospheric, while improvements to player interaction, oh my god. Okay, one thing I'll say here is that player interaction sucks massive Thank you, music. That was great timing. The freaking player interaction, I don't know how, but it feels like it's gotten worse. Like, I do really love that we have the key prompts. I like being able to key rebind. I don't mind the wheel. I think the wheel's actually fairly solid. But the fact of the matter is, like, half the time that I press the F button and go to do something with that interaction wheel, it just disappears. And I don't know why. Am I doing something wrong? Is the game glitching? Why can't I just easily use the interaction menus in this game? I think they've made progress on that. You know, after the whole, we're taking stuff over from Squadron 3.23 update, stuff like that's coming over. But two of the things that they brought over, the star map and the interaction systems, are simultaneously improvements on what they used to be, and also awful, just because they're not being supported. I think the problems that are with them are just like the small glitches and stuff that were brought in and never fixed. And I'm sorry, that's a little rant. It's not even important. I just saw it here and I got a little triggered. Let's continue. All that stuff and AI contributed to a more intuitive experience. We also expanded the vehicle lineup, introducing 24 new vehicles while continuing to improve the ships and ground vehicles already in your hands. 24. I need to update that on my thumbnail. Oh boy. Is that thumbnail? Oh, don't do that. I'm just now realizing that I think I put the wrong number of ships. Haha! I did not put the number of ships. Look at that. I almost put the number of I almost put 27 on here. Yeah. No, I think 27's next year. I also got that wrong. 24, it's nice to have the real number though, because I was thinking it might be 21. 24 new vehicles is insane. It's crazy. But you know what? I'm not mad at it, because they took care of, this is not what we want. We want colonial movers. They took care of quite a few backlog ships. They got us the Perseus, the Paladin. Nope. Not like that. So this guy covers all of the ship backlog. Really nice resource to have. Yeah, so they got the Perseus in there this year. They got the Paladin in there. The Apollo came in. I want to say there were a couple others from the backlog that came in. I guess the Paladin was only introduced in 2024, so that's not a huge deal. But they got quite a few ships in that were of the backlog nature, which I think was good. Most importantly, they didn't introduce any concept ships. That's huge. I think that's a big, they really like, that's a good first step. They got to get around to eliminating more of the ship sales. Again, this isn't to say like to do things right. Yeah, the Idris, good call. This isn't to say it's right or wrong to sell the ships. I know that's going to start a huge debate. My point is like, if they do want to do what they're doing, which is attracting more people, and clearly they're trying to attract more people at this point than the niche they were going for before, they do need to continue to project a better image. And I think this year they focused a lot on that. I'm surprised he didn't mention that here. Maybe he will later. Supporting all of this was significantly increased pace of delivery compared to previous years. In 2025, Star Citizen delivered 11 major patches, more than 40 live publishes, 147 PTU builds, and several tech previews. All in the last quarter. Like I said, the tech preview was a really important part of this year's strategy, but they actually didn't do a great job with this. They were not able to utilize it until September. I'm guessing because they had to get so much stuff fixed during that first 6 to 8 months. And they were busy with Squadron stuff. But this was, I think, a bit of a letdown. However, the 11 major patches was huge, and I think a big part of them breaking $150 million earned this year. We closed out the year with the introduction of engineering in Star Citizen 4.5, adding new layers of interaction, decision-making, and responsibility to managing your ship. Engineering is an important step towards the deeper systemic experience I've always wanted to build, where coordination and your crew truly matter. While future systems such as Maelstrom's physically based materials and destruction, more realistic shield gameplay with generators and emitters. Shield emitters are a big one. And our upcoming crafting system will further deepen engineering. It was important to bring engineering into the verse now so we can begin refining the experience in the live environment. They could probably go on and on about that they do genuinely need to have engineering in the game just so that the systems work with it. I think if they had dropped engineering into the game in the way that it is now 3 years ago, nobody would have cared at all. But people are expecting a little better polish now because expectations have changed without the game itself changing that much. Like, the game has become more playable, but the functionality is still not incredibly deeper than it used to be. And that functionality is only going to destabilize the game as it gets brought in. You know, so it's... This was the problem that people were like, this is going to happen regardless. They go and they do a year of playability. At some point, they're going to have to drop in features, and those features may or may not be fully complete because they just have to get into the game. And as much as the EPTU, I would love for this to be what saves us from that. Clearly, it's not good enough. Like, EPTU, it looks like it's going to be used to make sure the feature works. And then they're going to throw it in live because live is for testing too. And the faster they can bang out these problems, the faster we can get to a real game. Let's move on. Finally, as a Christmas surprise, we quietly released an experimental VR mode in Alpha 4.5. What began as a passion project quickly caught people's attention, and the response from those who have tried it has been genuinely exciting. Can I just point out also the actual... Not only was it a passion project, but the people who are passionate about it are ridiculously supportive. Look at this dev tracker response thread, okay? Look at Ali Brown, Sylvan, and Yogi Klatt answering graphics questions and VR questions. And you can just keep scrolling back, dude. Look at these are all separate replies to different people on the forums. Going all the way back. I'm still not at 4 days back. Look at this. You have to come all the way down here to get to any other developers talking about anything. These guys are really, really passionate's the right word, but like dedicated. And I do think that there is potential for Star Citizen to be a VR showcase. I'm not crazy about VR. I might try it. I would love to test out one of these upcoming headsets. I love the head tracking and the eye tracking, and then it'd be cool to have a more immersive version of that. But I know it'll always be niche. You know, it's always going to be like the less popular way of experiencing a game, at least until we're all living in VR. But being the standout game to experience VR on could go a really long way for a game, right? Everywhere that it gets demoed and all of the different like shopping malls, on the computers and the TVs, the commercials, even when, you know, you go to like these VR experience places, we're going to one tonight to experience the moon landing, you'll see Star Citizen and people are going to be like, what is that? That looks sick. And that's the best way Star Citizen sells itself, ever, always. He said that approach takes more effort, the one for the VR, but it makes the experience feel grounded and real, and it highlights the value of those design choices in a way few other technologies can. He said this because they physicalize almost everything, keeping first and third person views consistent in a shared universe, which is a bigger problem than you would think. Being able to experience ships, environments, and equipment at true scale with natural movement and directional audio adds a level of immersion that's difficult to capture on a traditional display. All the details we put into our environment, props, ships, and gear really pays off when you're close and personal. I've heard this true of Elite Dangerous, not just Star Citizen. You get into VR and everything changes in scale. Everything feels bigger. I was standing next to a train locomotive the other day, and I've been next to trains before. I've seen them plenty of places. I've been next to them, But it doesn't matter. Once you stand like right up next to one and put your hand on it, you're like, holy these things are big. and I don't get that really from the ships in Star Citizen on a display, but I hear when you hop into VR, it is unmatched. Hey Leaf, good to see you in chat, dude. What are you guys doing with the bits over there? Jesus. What is this? Where are we? This is still an early and experimental step, and there's plenty we want to improve. We need to continue dialing in the diegetic UI so it feels comfortable and readable in VR. Refine FPS controls so your input controls your body rather than where you're looking. Okay, but I also still want to control where I'm looking. And they want to add more dedicated controller support. That's a big one. Actually, something that I've seen start popping up. Some controller support has lost some functionality in 4.5. I was just talking to somebody on Twitter about it, and there is an issue council for it. I don't know what it is, but it's made it a little bit more difficult to use controllers in the game, and I want to see them make it easier, because I like controllers. And honestly, if I knew I could play this game easily with controller, I would more. He said they're solvable problems and ones we are excited to tackle. We're happy to see them tackled. It's also worth mentioning that the new VR mode would not be possible without the engine and graphics work happening behind the scenes. Ongoing optimization efforts by our core technology group and our transition to Vulkan have made a meaningful difference, and without that work, I don't think VR would be running as smoothly in its first iteration. All of this combined, actually the dev who worked on the engineering, the VR work, sorry, Sylvan, he specifically said, I think it was 3 years ago now, he said that it wasn't until Vulkan came into the game that he was going to try and start pushing a VR mode. So it's right on time. For it being a passion project that is extra, he got that in there quick. That was nice. All of this combined with a hard focus on bug fixing and quality of life features has made Star Citizen more fun, stable, and playable than ever. And the numbers back it up. All right, let's see. Just to clarify again, this is true. I think it's good to note it's not a high bar. For Star Citizen to be more fun, stable, and playable is truly not a high bar. Okay, this game has struggled for a long time. And for people who are looking at this from the perspective of never playing Star Citizen, this isn't going to mean much to you, because it's still going to play worse than a game that you would expect. This is a statement for people who have played this game in the past, or who have been playing it over the last couple years, because it is true from that perspective, but they still have a long way to go. And, you know, don't get that twisted. I think that's important. Now the numbers. We had a record-setting engagement this year, with more than 64 million hours played in Star Citizen, up from 48 million in 2024. You set new records in peak concurrency and unique daily users, and we saw huge increases in every metric, including 40 to 60% increases in average daily users and average peak concurrency. We also saw huge improvements in server stability, with 57% fewer player disconnections per 1 million player hours compared to 2024. 2025 was truly the year of playability for Star Citizen. It better not end with... You f***ing... That's it. Ugh. That doesn't tell us much. I mean, plenty of work hours. It's funny that they gave us the specifics when it comes to work hours, but none when it comes to players. That annoys me to no end, dude. 40 to 60% increase in average daily users. What if the daily users was like 1,000 in 2024? 40 to 60% is great. You know, that does say that this year was better than last year. No matter what, we saw that from our own gameplay, and it's nice to know that that was reflected on the raw data side. That means that what we're seeing is not just fake numbers, right? The popular thing to do is to come to this and go to the citizens new count list of the year, which it does say is above previous years. It's now the second best year after 2022, which is great, bringing in a total of what's the freaking number? 684,000 new members. So the popular thing to do is look at that and say, well, it's all fake accounts, it's all second accounts. But like, this is good data. This does tell us that there is a significant increase in the amount of play that's going on. But like, what's the only thing that we're going to have to go off of is up here where he said that it was tens of thousands of players concurrent. Every day, tens of thousands of players. I need that validated. That's a crazy number. That's so many people. I know, maybe it sounds a little shallow that I care that much about numbers, but like, that would be actually nuts. For a game that we're all wondering whether or not it's going to do okay, for them to be hitting those kinds of numbers right now would be nuts. Let's see here. It says, on the Squadron 42 front, our focus throughout 2025 was to build on the progress of 2024 and what we showed at last year's CitizenCon by bringing the game to content complete and closing out remaining core tasks in preparation for beta. All chapters are now fully playable from beginning to end. Hell yeah, dude. We're back at 2020. We got it. I swear, wasn't that a statement? I know obviously the game went through like changes after that. They probably scrapped some stuff. But we literally got this same statement in 2019, I think, or 2020. He says, we've been playing through the game ourselves regularly. Squadron 42 is a large game, over 40 hours in length, and it's becoming increasingly clear how special it will be once the remaining polish, optimization, and bug fixing is complete. A big part of what makes this possible is the technology we've built at CIG over many years. The ability to move seamlessly from on foot into a vehicle, you can fly and move around inside, down to a planet or across star systems, all without loading screens, creates a level of immersion that's very difficult to replicate. That combination of close-up interactions and galactic scale is at the core of what will make Squadron 42 so unique. Equally important is the quality of the content itself. From writing and performance capture to characters, environments, ships, lighting, sound, cinematics, and design. The level of care across the entire game is something I'm incredibly proud of. Combined with deeply interactive systems, it creates an experience that pulls you into the world and keeps you there. If it sounded like I was going to continue reading after that, that's because I expect there to be more said here about Squadron 42. What did I say about this being pretty milquetoast? Man, what is this? What is this update on Squadron 42? Basically, this is the update. This sentence. All chapters are fully playable, and we're playing through it, and it's large. Oh, it's just. I mean, I know I said it at the beginning of this that it was going to be a little bit of nothing, but I mean, at least, hey, he didn't say anything about it not making it in 2026. That's good. No delay. Let's keep going. Let's see what else there is. Community. What continues to mean the most to us is the community that has grown alongside this journey. You have given us your time, shared your perspectives, and chosen to take part in something that is truly bigger than all of us. It is the next great adventure where millions of like-minded explorers get to live among the stars, and we cannot ask for a better crew. Throughout the year, hundreds of Bar Citizen events took place around the world. Well, we did a garden gathering. I guess, I don't know, but it's a CitizenCon watch party. They were creating spaces where stories were shared, friendships were formed, cookies were delivered, and a shared passion for this universe came to life. We were fortunate enough to attend 24 of these in person, and each one was a reminder of the care and creativity you bring to this community. These moments matter. They help keep us grounded in why we do what we do, and they continue to inspire and motivate us in ways that are truly rewarding. Hey, CIG, once you have your blow-up moment, if you do, don't forget about this part. I want to be like, I never got to go to bar events with the Halo devs or the Mass Effect folks or even the people who are working on Satisfactory. I don't know if they do that, they might, but I do think this is a genuinely valuable part of this is keeping up with the community, and I hope that they keep this going even after if they make it big. The same energy carried through online. You organized race events, watch parties, social meetups, and more throughout the year, bringing people together no matter the time zones or continents. CitizenCon Direct was a standout moment for us, with dozens of watch parties happening around the world simultaneously. Despite the distance between us, it genuinely felt like we were more connected than ever. Thank you for the time, patience, and passion you continue to share with us. Whether you joined us at an event, helped us test a build on the PTU, organized a gathering, or simply spent time experiencing the universe with others, you are at the center of our ambition and what makes this entire journey possible. Thank you, everybody. If you did come to our garden gathering, we appreciate you. Wonderful members of the Star Citizen, screw that, the garden community, the Toes Gang. Let's hear it. I'm getting faster at that. All right, on from the community and on to the future. Eye on the horizon. Let's see if this has anything to wiggle our toes at. Looking ahead to 2026, our focus remains clear. We'll continue crafting, sorry, getting ahead of myself. We'll continue improving stability and depth in Star Citizen while expanding and connecting core systems that shape how you play. From engineering to inventory, crafting, social tools, and other foundational features. Yes, please, social tools. Alongside expanding the playable universe itself. Server meshing will become dynamic. In 2026? Allowing the mesh to I guess it has to, because they're planning on launching instances in 2026. This will be allowing the mesh to reconfigure in real time based on player activity and server load. This is the golden goose, my friends. This is the good stuff. Okay, this is the nice, perfect first fries you get on the top of the pile. Yes, not soggy, dude. This is the good pizza, non-soggy pizza. You fold it up. It's not too greasy. Eating it. It's not burning the inside of your mouth. Ooh, dynamic meshing is the good stuff. That's where they actually are doing something that could be considered an industry first. At least at the scale that they're doing it at. Dynamic server meshing is basically going to allow for a server to change size as it needs. Like if, let's say, as of right now, we have 700 people split between Stanton, Nyx, and Pyro. But if you sent all 700 of those people into Stanton, it would all get super laggy, right? The different parts of the system where people were concentrated would be laggy. But if they all went to Microtech, 200 of them were up at Port Tressler, 200 of them were down at New Babbage, and 200 of them were spread across the planet. You could have separate servers spin up to take care of those people separately so that they're not all putting the load on one big server. And that will make it so that even more people can be in one place than we have right now, right? Before we had we had one server for all the people in Stanton. Now we have 3 servers, I think, for Stanton, or 4 maybe. But eventually we could have 10 if they needed. Now that would be expensive, and I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but that's kind of what dynamic server meshing is supposed to do. The important part of this, and I talked to Grollo about this on a podcast a few weeks ago, the key part of this is that when a server spins up, it's not just splitting 2 servers off. It's creating a server inside of another server. So it can nest servers. That way, even if a server is created for you and your group in the space station Port Tressler, it's still within the larger Microtech server. And so as soon as you need to, you can lose that inner server and you're back in with everybody else. And that's how it allows basically for the game to never have a server that's misperforming. That's the theory. Who knows how it's actually going to work? A lot of server stuff. We'll see if it follows through, but it's supposed to expand the game quite a bit. It'll probably help with optimization, and it'll let them do more instanced content, which a lot of people are looking for so they don't get bothered when they're doing story missions. All right. He says that this evolution is foundational to supporting the large-scale group experiences we've always envisioned and will enable us to expand the universe even further. Our goal is to have thousands of players in the same shared universe instance. Components, thousands is a decrease from honestly what they wanted to do originally. Components of the server meshing system are also being leveraged to deliver instanced areas and experiences, allowing our designers to craft balanced content that integrates seamlessly into the universe. As we expand outward, we're also building deeper. Genesis planets represent our next step in planetary tech, offering breathtaking worlds with significantly improved graphical fidelity and denser, more dynamically assembled biomes. These planets are driven by the rules of nature and our designers, creating ecosystems that feel alive and authentic. Combined with Starkitect locations throughout, Genesis planets deliver both the environmental depth and the gameplay density we need. Supporting this will be a new AI population management tool system that creates inhabitants appropriate to their local environment and enables more complex interactions between agents. They haven't really talked about this, at least not lately. This is the first time we're really hearing anybody mention this in the new world of Star Citizen's development, post 4.0, we'll say. So we'll see if they cover this anymore in like monthly reports or something, but that's a key call out. This approach to building living, breathing planets is key to scaling the game to the heights we are aiming for. For Squadron 42, our priority remains quality and polish as we move towards beta and release. We're confident in the direction the game is headed and are fully focused on delivering. We know many of you are eager to play and are looking forward to putting it in your hands. We don't plan on a long drawn-out marketing campaign as we've already done our fair share of trailers and gameplay previews. Okay. When it's time, you and the rest of the gaming world will hear a lot more from us. Okay, so letting us know that there's not going to be a long drawn-out marketing campaign at least is I think probably his main way of saying we're still planning for 2026, we just haven't started marketing it yet. Thank you for continuing to share your time, your feedback, and your passion for this universe. Star Citizen and Squadron 42 exist because of all of you, and that is something I will never take for granted. From all of us at Cloud Imperium Games, we wish you a happy holiday season and a great start to the new year. All right, so this isn't outright saying that there's no delay. It's not like you have to say there's no delay. You actually shouldn't probably say that. I would take this as confirmation that like we understand it looks weird that we haven't started a full Squadron 42 marketing push. Just stay tuned. No confirmation, but it's definitely, I would say, vocabulary pushing against the idea of a delay. That being said, nobody's going to say if they're trying to delay the game one way or another, unless I guess maybe you're Rockstar and you can just do that. Actually, I feel like with Rockstar, the news was probably going to come out sooner than later because of their legal issues with the union, or at least the to-be union. But it would be prudent to announce a delay by now if you were going to have one. Toes. So that is the letter from the chairman. Like I said, not incredibly exciting. Mostly a review of the year. Not a ton of like insider information, which how much can you expect? If you asked me to tell you what I expected to hear from this letter, I couldn't say exactly what. Just interesting stuff. I think that this was a really interesting look at the year ahead. But I also think that this probably put them in a bad spot. Because they put this out before 4.0 was really out. So even though he was already headed in the direction of the year of playability, I bet you if they had done this letter after their January meeting, they wouldn't have included this EPTU part because it's still kind of unsure. I'm sure they have some ideas for how they want to test and do their features and stuff this year, and there's more that they would want to say here, but I do appreciate there's restraint. Like I said, he has not been able to talk about things as much because of things that have been stated, and I'm glad that, you know, even when he is able to do these letters, it doesn't feel so crazy that I'm mistrusting a lot of it, except for this. Where was it? This tens of thousands of people thing. I want that validated and verified. Did I miss a sentence back here? What did I miss? Direction. Many of you are eager to play. No drawn out marketing. So this one, we're also upgrading core systems that have been with us for years. Oh, okay. As part of our item recovery work, inventory, insurance, and cross-patch persistence are all getting significant improvements. The focus is on making it easier to interact with your belongings while improving the stability and speed of these systems overall. These are integral parts of any MMO experience. Yeah, I mean, these are... Insurance is the interesting one mentioned here. All of these make sense for what we're seeing. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm sorry to say it, but I expected them to get item recovery T2 in by the end of the year, but they need crafting for it. To be honest, when they first announced item recovery tier 0, yeah, I was definitely thinking, hey, this shouldn't be too long. 6 months, maybe 6-7 months. So I would be disappointed if they weren't doing item recovery stuff next year. The inventory we know is coming. I'm surprised actually we haven't gotten that in testing either, but I'm glad that they're making good progress on that. Insurance is cool. Cross-patch persistence is great. Yeah. Focus on making it easier to interact with your belongings while improving the stability. You know what would have been probably the best thing to include here would have been suit lockers. Like if they had said item recovery, inventory, suit lockers, insurance, and cross patch, that would have been beautiful. But yeah, they're working on some of the systems, the same systems we've been seeing. Monthly reports are a great way to keep up with those, I think. Ultimately, it's an update of a letter. We're now going to go and look at the last year's letter, along with everything else that's happened throughout 2025. So, hope you got a good recap here, and enjoyed the looky-loo. Chris is not saying typical Chris things in this. No, he's pretty restrained. He has not put any sort of major expectations. I mean, last year's here. What was he saying? Oh, wow. Yeah, last year's was really short. Yeah, really, last year was just the announcement about the... Yeah, you know, come to think of it, these letters are getting shorter. They're definitely getting shorter in the look ahead part. They used to be doing a lot more. Ooh, Take Two in the KSP2 drama. Yeah, that was not great. The Squadron 42 update is actually good news. Yeah, certainly not bad news. To be honest, I think... I don't know who's keeping him straight right now. Blam, you took 9 months off playing this game this year, and it's one of the only times you feel like you missed nothing. Wow. That's interesting. $6.4 million divided by 365 divided by 24 is 7,300 players per hour average. Player hours, right? Because certain times can be more concurrent than others. I guess that's on average. Per hour average, yeah. Okay. Is that... I guess that could be tens of thousands a day? I don't know. Wisaku, thank you for the sub, mate. Appreciate you. Not sure why no one is talking about the mute or block. It seems like a huge thing. It's a start. It's good. It's good that it's happening. Maybe not as in your face either, though. Like, I didn't even remember that that was a thing. You're really enjoying this year. It has a lot of cool and interesting stuff. Came back in time for 4.5, so you got to learn every engineering thing. Oh, you're talking about like feature-wise, Blam. There's been a lot of theme park FPS content this year, not so much for the Space Combat Sandbox folks. Definitely not for the Space Combat Sandbox folks, no. But I do think they've done a good job with Space Combat. Whereas before it was very much just fly to place and shoot people. I'm glad that I think all of the Space Combat stuff you can do now has like NPC coverage, which is nice, and some more diversity. But I do think Nyx should be utilized for more space content. Tens of thousands doesn't seem crazy at all to you. The Asian market is huge too. That'd be nuts. Wouldn't that make this one of the more played games in the world? You do both FPS and flying, and this year actually felt like you're playing half a game. Wow. We also have the fleet battle missions coming probably next year. Yeah. This year was solid, but you're taking a break till the next patch. More to do with other games that came out last year at this point. Dude, there's so many good games from 2025 to play. If I would, like, there's no reason to play Star Citizen if you have other games you want to play. Star Citizen ain't going anywhere. Welcome to Nyx. Felt good with the space combat and ground FPS. I'm trying to think of what my favorite stuff was. I think my favorite is probably Onyx stuff. I really enjoy like creeping around places. I'm not necessarily the kind of person who always wants to be shooting stuff, but I do like to be on my feet. Whether I'm in a spaceship or I'm on the ground, I like being on my feet. I'm not the person who likes to fly the spaceships. And I think for that reason, my interests probably don't align with a lot of people's in Star Citizen. A lot of folks want more spaceship-focused combat, and I'm not going to say no to that, because it is very much a spaceship game, and they spent a lot of time on the spaceship, so we should probably make use of them. Hathor was fun, actually. Hathor felt like the first time I was getting the quote-unquote DayZ kind of experience that I look for. Of like, there's a location with NPCs and players, and what happens in that location can change at any time. I really like that. Nyx makes you go through your fuel tank when doing missions so quickly. Maybe the social systems rework makes the Starfarer be relevant there. Yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could actually refuel with each other for these big systems, you know, like they said we would need for these big systems? Like they created for these big systems. I'm very bitter about refueling. Onyx was good, but you haven't played it since it was in the PTU. NPC respawns took away from your enjoyment. Arc Raiders is pretty cool. Solid game. Jump Space also a great choice. In fact, I think we might have a copy of Jump Space to give away. So maybe we could do something with that New Year's time, because we have a few giveaways that we want to do. By the way, if you don't have any plans for New Year's, guys, we love to host a little event here. Maybe if you do have plans for New Year's, but you still want to be able to win some giveaways or see people get drunk and fail at a video game, me and Mrs. Tomato jump in with our community, GII, and we do a little tour of all the different locations in the game, landing for every New Year's celebration in the continental US, and celebrating. Drank. And a whole bunch of these. So if you want to drop by, we will be live January 31st, December 31st for that. When Hathor was working, your group had legitimate fights for resources, and that felt unique. I hear the fight is back. Oh, Death Stranding 2 is also a good call out. All right. Now that we're past this, why don't we look at the year behind us? What the heck happened in 2025? It was a lot. Like I said, a lot of tabs here. We're not going to watch all these videos. We're going to skim a lot of this stuff. I'm going to try not to take too much time on any one thing because we do have a whole year to get through. And I do have to do some more work today. So, you know. The videos must flow. By the way, I actually just released a new video on the main channel for anybody who is a supporter. If you're a supporter on Twitch, if you got a sub gifted to you today, if you get a membership on YouTube, however, just released this video for all of yous, and it comes out on Christmas, but it's up early right now, and it basically goes over 2025 and what I think showed a better understanding of where they sit in the industry. And kind of, I think in 2025, CIG showed a real understanding that they need to fix a lot of image and reputation stuff going forward. So I threw that into a review and covered it all with a whole bunch of anecdotes from the year. Do I think CIG will ever tell the number of concurrent players? I do. Don't know why they don't do that right now. What are the Steam numbers? Hello. Steam. Okay, yeah. Never mind. See, you gotta be doing really. These are freaking high numbers. I'm sorry, I was so wrong about concurrent players. Oh, this is fantastic. What the OBS Studios got 20,000. Yeah. Okay. So tens of thousands is not as impressive as I'm thinking. I mean, it's good. It's still good for a game like this, especially given the scale of it. So, I mean, if a game like No Man's Sky is doing 17,000 concurrent. Here we go. Here's Hunt Showdown at 1896 at 20,000 concurrent. Like, I think if they were hitting 20 to 30,000 looking at this, then yeah, they are doing pretty good. Yeah, anywhere in this range would be absolutely phenomenal for Star Citizen, in my opinion. I know he said that in the letter. That's why I'm... Oh, yeah, you're asking about that. Yeah, he did. He said tens of thousands. I would love to see that. Do they have total hours played on these? Hours played, 14 million, right? What did he say theirs was? This is last year's. I'm lost. Help me. I can't find my way back. Okay, so if we look for here we go. So he says 64 million hours played in Star Citizen and tens of thousands of people every day. So looking at Steam charts, I already forgot how many millions of hours that was. Was it 64? 64 million hours. I don't know what this hours played number is. Is this in the last... Oh, this is the last 30 days. So, like, 64 million divided by 12, what is that? Like 5.15 or so? 5 point something? So, like, you're looking at games that have around 5 million hours played in the last month. This is an average too. It's not ideal. But Detroit Become Human. Jesus, a lot of people are still playing Detroit Become Human. Good for them. That's pretty solid. It's putting you around Counter-Strike, which has 12,000 daily players and a peak of 14,000. It's putting you around F1 2025 at 12,000 unique players, 16,000 on the peak over the last 24 hours. So like you're kind of sitting around here, it seems. And there are so many variables that I'm not going to try and say this is a direct comparison or that this makes a ton of sense. It's not so crazy for him to say that there are tens of thousands of people playing. I doubt it's every day. I doubt it's that consistent because we have definitely our ups and downs throughout the year and even on a week-by-week basis. But the hours played is a little bit low, I would say, for the numbers that he's insinuating. Not to say that it's not true or anything. Either way, they're relatively healthy numbers. I think they're good numbers for Star Citizen, and I think they probably are better numbers than most people would believe for Star Citizen, especially people outside of the community. But I can't wait until we get some more official, more reliable numbers on that. Good numbers for a game not on Steam, for a game considered a scam very widely, for a game that's probably one of the more... You rock, you know that? To be quite honest, this is one of the more made fun of games in existence at this point. Like, I could be watching my regular news gaming content on, Skill Up about the Game Awards or about just like the news of the industry, and randomly it'll come up that something Star Citizen. I'm like, dude. So yeah, for a game that's in the position that it is and the reputation that it has, those are good numbers. And I think if they are true, they can definitely capitalize on them next year for sure. Serious Fun, thank you so much for the super chat, dude. Holy crap. The whole Tomato family is an absolute blessing. Happy holidays and a powerful 2026. You know what? That's Toast Gang, bro. Thank you, Serious Fun. A real one. I appreciate you, dude. Look at those numbers Ashes hit in that amount of time. Where is it? Ashes of Creation. 3 million? Yeah, but they just started. Honestly, that's pretty impressive. They haven't even been around for that long. And it's already doing great numbers. Obviously, a lot of that might be because it's new, but we shall see. Here's Escape from Tarkov. That's a really good one to look at. This game's doing phenomenal for itself. 25,000 active users, 42,000 peak in the last 24, 18 million hours in the last month. That's good stuff. Use SteamDB for charts. Are there different websites for tracking this stuff? Do they not pull from the same numbers? Ashes of Creation. No, it has about the same numbers still. Actually, I think this is higher. Escape from Tarkov. The 24-hour peak is lower. Yeah, so they're different numbers. Unless I was looking at all-time peak on the other website. No Man's Sky is about the same, though. Yeah, I mean, I know the game's been around for years, but obviously I meant new on Steam. You predict that within 5 years' time, it will be the main way to experience Star Citizen. What will? VR? What? You think in 5 years there are going to be more people using a VR headset than not? VR will not always be niche. I'll agree to disagree on that one. Like I said, I don't think VR is going to be the main way that we experience things until we're at the point where most things are existent in VR. And I think that's a while away. Merry Christmas, Valentino. What's our schedule for this week? We are bundled in and enjoying ourselves. Hot chocolate, mulled wine, good music, warm days. Our family's coming over on Christmas Day to have breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner and celebrate the good times. Tarkov's a bad example. Most players use the launcher. It doesn't get integrated into Steam numbers. It's still doing great Steam-wise. Even if that's not, if this isn't all of the people, this is fantastic on there. I'm guessing there are quite a few of these games that probably launch through different launchers. People playing on consoles and in different environments. This is just getting Steam numbers, guys, so it won't be fully indicative of everything that's going on in the gaming world. VR is niche, it can still make millions long term. Yeah, I mean, look at Star Citizen. Give me 1 second, guys. I gotta rename something here. LFCM. LFCM. Okay. Just notes for the editor, you know? Wonder where Starfield is on this chart. Starfield's probably... Microsoft or Bethesda got rid of their own launcher, right? So Starfield would just be using the Xbox launcher and Steam. Looks like they're hitting about 4,000 per day. It's been dropping though. It's just been rough, honestly. But they have an update there's rumor that a big update might be coming over the next, which maybe is why it's gone up just a little bit. Sometime next year, early next year. The Steam frame's gonna be crazy. I'm excited to see what they do with it, but it does sound like it's gonna be pretty expensive. I'm hearing estimates of $700, $800, $900, or at least $600, $700, $800. You got super excited for SCVR, got your headset, and realized that a lot of the VR games are pretty meh. Star Citizen is awesome, but a lot of the other stuff was meh. Everybody that I've talked to has said that the main thing holding VR back is the game selection. So, Star Citizen is a good addition in that regard. But yeah, I think not only AR, but also just like virtual reality not being such a niche application would really help. Microsoft and Apple both have kind of tried to do that to varying success. Some don't understand business and marketing if they can't see the benefit of CIG pushing a VR push. Hello, Troy. How you doing? Hand controls for SC would be cool. They've talked about one that also wanting to do full body control. We'll see. We'll see how they get. All right. Let's talk about 2025. My friends, we have a big chunk of review to get through. 2025 is coming to an end, and it's been a crazy year. Now, I have for you a whole bunch of updates from throughout the year, things that dropped, things that happened, drama that occurred, all the things that I can find. It's not everything, but it's a good review of the year, along with the roadmap that had all the features and stuff, but also along with my own feed on the channel, Space Tomato Gaming channel, where I release polls every month. And if you haven't seen them, go check them out, because honestly, we're only getting input from my community here. And the more people who answer these polls, the better an idea we will get of how the game is being considered. Because, like, I'm gonna be honest, dude, the freaking comments sometimes I get here, people will be like, if you're so negative about the game, all your answers are going to be negative. And I'm like, well, first of all my answers aren't negative. And second, I don't think most people would consider me to be negative about Star Citizen. But yeah, I want a more diverse pool of people to get to answer these polls. Either way, that's part of our year in review. We're going to go through every single month to see how these answers ebbed and flowed, along with just like following the devs and what they did throughout the year. Welcome to 2025 in review. We will be starting, not with this. That is the wrong letter from the chairman. We're going to be starting with the 2025 letter from the chairman, 2024, to talk about what they wanted to start out this year doing. As we jump into the new year of 2025, our primary focus across our Star Citizen teams is clear: improving playability. Our drive for playability surrounds three critical areas: performance, stability, and content. We understand that the live environment must be far more reliable and consistent, and we are determined to deliver on this. The sentiment many of you have shared, and one we wholeheartedly agree with, is that if the current game as it stands today ran smoothly with fewer obstacles and bugs, it would provide an unparalleled experience over the years. We have experimented with different approaches to improve quality of life and tackling tech debt. However, the ongoing challenge has been balancing these efforts alongside the introduction of new features and technology. Real quick, I'm sorry. Sorry, just realized I needed to take care of something. So negative about the negative posts. Negative about Olive Citizen, yes. Absolutely. I will gladly have... I am the most negative about Olives. Please, join me in my hatred. I would much prefer to wallow in the negativity of Olive hate than to enjoy them. Yeah. Hey, thanks for the birthday wish, Dan. Appreciate you. I had my birthday was last week, but you know, it's Christmas, so that's fun. All right, so basically this first part of this letter, and the first thing really that was said about 2025, was they were like, hey, we know that the game is rough and we need to get you guys into a better game so that you can actually experience the stuff that's going on. And throughout the year, we're gonna now cover whether or not they were able to do that. Now, they talked about a couple different things to make that happen. First was decoupling feature development from content creation and general fixes. So introducing the tech preview channel and using it in the EPTU for the features that we wouldn't necessarily want to see destabilize the game, but still needed to be tested. That did not occur until September, as we'll see here. But it is, yeah, that's kind of, this is part of what they were setting up for 2025 as what to expect. Now, last year we were saying over 1 million of you have played 32 million hours in the game this year. Wait, what? Isn't that... Hold up. I could have sworn he said it was 48 million. Yeah. 64 million hours played in Star Citizen in 2025. 48 million played in 2024. But here he's saying it was 32 million hours. Bro. Am I missing something? Up from 48 million in 2024. What? So is it less? Because it would be more impressive to say here that it was 32 million. That would be a full-on doubling of the hours played. So why, I don't know. 16 million. They got 16 million in the days between this and the end of 2024. That would be so funny. Just like people just flooded in. Oh man, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. But at the end of last year, they were talking about needing to make the game play better and bring in more content more regularly. Because for those who remember, before 2024, like a mission being added to the game was a big deal. So let's jump in. The first patch of the year was 4.0. Not 4. This introduced Pyro. It gave us the Guardian. It brought in contested zones. It was good because of this. We got jump points, which was probably the biggest part of the whole patch, jump points and server meshing, really. So the addition of Pyro was great. I would say that the actual addition of Pyro doesn't really matter that much. It was the server meshing. I think Pyro was a fairly uneventful addition to the game, all things considered. Like, Nyx is a more exciting release than Pyro, in my opinion. Pyro was exciting because it was new, but Nyx is exciting because there's just more going on in it and it feels more reliable to go to. I don't think it has more content, at least planned. Doesn't have the planets, doesn't have the outposts, the factions. But the storyline that it came with was better. And the landing zone that it has performs better. So I don't know. It just feels better as a release. 4.0 was good for server meshing for sure. But overall, I think that not just the release and the stability of it, but also the way that 4.0 happened, the state of Pyro still, after this, leaves this being a little bit of a sore spot. I'm happy about 4.0. But I don't think it landed quite like 3.0 did, for instance. I don't think Pyro came out at that point. I think, wasn't it already in the preview by the time this letter came out? Pyro preview would have been in... This allows us to maintain a clean state for the new systems coming online in the Pyro preview. Oh, I see. No. It was, Pyro preview came out after this. So you guys think maybe they got 16 million hours on the preview channel in a week? Is that the theory? Because it didn't go live. It just went to the preview channel. be pretty crazy. All right, continuing on after 4.0, they dropped 4.0.1, and I think made one of the biggest first decisions that told us this is going to be a year where we take the experience a little more seriously. So here was an update that they had given for 4.0.1 in January 31st, and the biggest thing that I would say happened in this letter was here. As we mentioned in the letter from the chairman in December, our top priority is playability, ensuring that your experience in the verse is smooth and enjoyable as possible. That means dedicating all our resources to improving stability, addressing critical issues, and delivering meaningful quality of life updates. With that in mind, we've made the decision to forego the Red Festival free fly. This reinforces what we said in December. Star Citizen needs to work, and it needs to work well. Right now, our focus is on continued hotfixes and subsequent patches to bring the experience to a much better place. Think that was a good call. It caught most of us by surprise. I don't know anybody expecting CIG to cancel a marketing event, but they did, and I think that was not even just a good idea in terms of it wasn't even just a good idea in terms of saving the game stability, but also reinforcing what he's saying here, reinforcing the ideas that they set out with the whole playability push. The Pyro preview came out on October 31st of 2024. I thought it launched in December. Four 4.0 didn't go live in December. Unless am I? The live preview channel went in December 20th. The full 4.0 went live in February. Yeah, I don't know where you're getting that the preview was in October. Maybe that was like the one that they did at CitizenCon or something? Four 4.0 preview was its own separate live server that was technically live, so there was no reason to play the old live. I don't know. I never consider 4.0 going live in 24. I always consider it to have gone in 2025. It seems like that's what they're doing too, because they like to say that they launched 2 systems this year instead of 1, but I don't know. It's all semantics. I personally don't think they got 16 million hours of playtime in 10 days. But you know what? If we want to make sure that Chris is truthful here, we could say that. All right, besides this skipping of the free fly, they also talked about some other things that were going on. The elevators were a problem. The character stowing and repairing was a problem. Personal hangars. Oh my God, you guys remember personal hangars? You would hear other people's hangars. Your hangar might disappear. Your ship might be in someone else's hangar. It was pretty crazy. Load times, I don't remember load times being bad, but they're saying here that the load times have increased, combining with ongoing login errors. We had some mission systems. We lost a lot of missions when 4.0 came in. That was a bummer. Just, there were plenty of issues going on. But overall, this post, as you can see here, like, it made people feel better. It was a bit of a change from how Star Citizen usually does their messaging, especially when it comes to difficult releases. Yeah, to my knowledge, this has not happened before, canceling a free fly. So, good move. As Bruce had said, there's a lot of friction in the community right now, and transparently like this is fantastic to see. Thanks, Xylo. Here's hoping some of the rather nastier issues can be hammered out. A good way to start the year. Yeah, it might have been struggling a bit, but nonetheless, a good way to start it. As you guys are saying, I guess 4.0 4.0 became live in January, so it was technically live in December. What? I don't understand that sentence. Looking at the numbers in the letter of the chairman, 64 million hours means more than 175 hours a day, 1,000. If everybody played 8 hours a day, that would make 21.9 thousand users daily, so nearly 42,000 users if everybody played 4 hours. I think that is a good set of numbers. Okay. Interesting math. We'll have to keep mathing that more. What do you mean would hear other hangers? I haven't noticed that problem as much anymore. But yeah, that was there were some rough problems in the beginning there. I'm just glad they acknowledged them. After that, the next month, we got the roadmap roundup, which really started to set the tone for the year and what was going to be happening. They opened it by saying, as we emphasized in the last letter from the chairman, and throughout our messaging this year, our top priority for 2025 is improving playability. Now, just in context, this was a letter released. This was a roadmap update released after they had gone and done their month of planning and talking. So in that time, they released 4.0. It was on the preview. People were playing it. They were able to see what the problems were, and they started to realize, how much time they might need to put towards it. In a recent episode of Inside Star Citizen, we shared our commitment to delivering more content patches more frequently. Because these updates are highly narrative-driven, we've adjusted how they appear on the release view to avoid spoilers. As a result, some newly added cards in the release view are marked as redacted and will only be fully added once the content is officially announced or discarded. So the first update we got here was adding 4.1. We got a redacted mission giver, who we all know who that is now. Redacted mission giver location, redacted sandbox activity, armor set, space missions, 2 Volt weapons, the Hathor mining station, and the Hathor ground alignment stations. So this was already like a pretty significant change of like what to expect in a patch from Star Citizen, because before this, any given update would have been, we could just drop into any of these updates here. You got AI intercepting torpedoes. That's, honestly, that's actually kind of cool. Some basically AI combat fixes here, right? But then you go down to gameplay. Reputation V1 is there. The ability to reload at space stations is getting added in. We got a UI refactor in mining, countermeasures, some more AI changes, some combat changes, the ability for you to see where entries were on your ship, refining a tractor beam. That's actually great. 3.12 was actually a really big update. I picked a bad update to do this with. This is a good update. But this was a good update, right? And you can still see how much of this stuff was actually focused on pure gameplay. I would say the refining at space stations, the tractor beam addition, and the combat changes are good. But that's the kind of stuff that we would get pretty regularly now. I'm going to go one step further back so that I actually look like I was making a point here. And look at 3.11, where the things we got were force reactions, a really bad inventory system, planet tech update, and some ships. Let's see. We also got the cargo decks, which, are very useful and super helpful in the game. They do a lot for us. Keep going back. There are some other places where, like, you get server-side object container streaming was pretty solid, but besides that, some AI pathfinding across planets, improved third-person camera, and a mission. Right? One mission getting added gets its own card in the update itself. Got the ability to punch people, too. My point being that updates before used to be kind of like a conglomerate of features. And 4.1 was like the first one that really felt like they were theming a whole patch around something. That theme being mainly the Align and Mine event. But ultimately it was focused on the idea of like, there are now valuables in the world. Go out and find them. And they kept carrying on them, which I think was good throughout the year. But this was pretty cool to see. This was a huge drop of new things for us to get excited about. We just didn't really know that they wouldn't be talking too much about it in Inside Star Citizen. They would just let us see it here. So moving forward again, we got to have an update from the concept art team working on ships. This is in March. But here is where we got to see some interesting stuff about new upcoming ships that we now have in our hands.
Yeah. I'd say you have to focus on the fact that you're getting paid for it, at least.
Are we?
So we got to see the Pioneer,
structures
which we haven't seen since this, actually.
that create these rooms. There are secondary beams, secondary bulkheads that are attached to the first ones, and the floor is attached over the structure, so there is space below the floor. How do you approach all this layering? We compartmentalized with color palette the different functions of this area. For example, we have the crafting stations in yellow, we have the cargo area and the passage in blue, something a little more calm because there is not a lot of movement. And where there is a lot of movement, like the elevator, we use...
Very CNOU angles and stuff.
What is this room?
This is the crafting stations. All of these are crafting pods.
Now here's something else we got. This
out
was
of
in
these things here in the
concept
front.
back at the beginning of the year. We just got this in game.
We're not sure how much movement it's going to have on it yet, so there's still a lot of interpretation there, but it's also got like the little frilly bits on the side, like what the Vulture's got for the fracture field for disintegrating stuff. I quite like that one.
I think it's very cool. Chat's taking to this one really well.
Hell yeah.
Looks like a kind of a.
Chat, is it real?
It's very Anvil.
It looks like a cover car, sort of. It's kind of cool.
Do you like
And then there's this guy.
This guy, he's
like the evil
much more
This looks like
stereotypical
a
RSI, I
stealth
guess. It's
courier
kind of got a
ship or something.
Zeus-y, silhouette. So it's a lot flatter.
This one.
But it's also got its big salvage grabbies on the front.
Who makes the pice? Oh, I can't remember what manufacturers the pice.
Anvil.
Huh?
Anvil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely.
And then there was another ship that showed its face here for the first time.
Besides the retro sci-fi aspect is obvious. I also see Naboo.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
which is the same influence. Everything Naboo was all built from those old 1950s retro sci-fi, kind of shape language and stuff. So it's one of those things.
Oh, we weren't really
you find
surprised that the
lots of
Salvation
times
was
there's
coming. We were
people
expecting that.
who are like, oh, that looks like that ship from that franchise. And it's like, no, we weren't actually looking at that franchise. It's just they were using the same influences we were. So some interesting posteriors here.
A model is the one they went with.
Take us through some of these options. What's this thing?
Which was the one that everybody was saying they liked. I'm pretty sure even later on here.
Keep reversing. This guy down here. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Nope, wrong button. I keep reversing it.
I thought the big circle was so we could put it on like a keychain.
They got rid of the
Not allowed to
circle.
talk, remember? Yeah. But yeah, with the little detached pylons, it's also very reminiscent of like the Buck Rogers of fighters and stuff, which is another tremendous thing. And I think this is our last. Did you just say what's Buck Rogers?
Who?
Go to sleep.
He does not look like he was expecting that at all.
Finally.
Buck Rogers. 2003.
Please
he
don't
says.
clip that and put it out of context.
I still don't know who's Buck Rogers.
2003, he says. All right, so let's go back. Let's go back to that first image. These are all really cool.
Yeah, you're right.
One
The
of things that
L22
really
does look
stands
like it
out
has some
to
G
me
in it.
How smooth they are.
I don't think we saw any other ships during this. I think it was mainly those three. But this was like one of the main ship focused pieces of promotion we got at the beginning of the year. Star Citizen Live was pretty lacking this year. Let's go back real quick to that time period and see just how much stuff they had put out by then. I'm pretty sure it was not very much. Would have been, yeah, right around here. So we got the Misfortune. We got this long talk
These
with
orders
Benoit,
and-
which is a very important talk. This was, I think, February time-ish.
You know, the
we have a team, an online team that takes care of what we call site reliability. So these guys are definitely the first watchers of all these metrics, and these guys will call out issues that we need to solve, right? And then they will loop in engineers. And so that's the core of the people working on this. But I kind of want to push back on what you just said about like, oh, the guys on the ship team don't have to do performance, right? Which I think that it, sometimes the way things are made in the game have a very big impact on performance, right? I can give examples, but like areas of levels that are created with hundreds of entities, right? Instead of using like a bare minimum, or there's techniques to use where group merging certain objects need to help reduce the actual effective size of things. So the teams on content are also kind of on the hook for performance, less so on stability, but they're on the hook for performance. And so they're not totally free.
Here's the most replayed part. Let's see what you
so
said
that
here.
Players like, oh, again, the 19K error. What does that mean, right? Like I go in Spectrum a lot in the SC testing chat, and I see players going like, what's the fix to 19K errors, right? And a 19K raw error is like your client can't talk to the backend service at all. So it's typically a client-side problem, firewall, machine connectivity, something like that. But the error message itself is really unclear, right? It's like, oh, we failed to.
Yeah, I wasn't saying too much.
Well, what can
This
I
is
do
this is a good talk. Like there were a lot of interesting things to hear in here, and I think it's good they did this because I would have not trusted it as much if they had just come out and done their final talk towards the end of the year. We'll touch on that too here. But rather he came on and he told us what he thought the issues were and what problems he was seeing. And that gave him a lot more context to come back to us in September and be like, okay, so I mentioned that these were issues. Here's what we've done to fix those. Feels a lot better than just saying, yeah, this stuff was happening and here's what we tried to do to fix it. From March, gosh, what even happened? What else happened in March? We're going through this together, folks. It's, I don't have everything laid out just yet. There really wasn't too much else going on, but this was where that Inside Star Citizen they mentioned came out, where they talked about the fact that they wanted to do more content this year.
Where did this idea of a content-driven push come from?
Well, as we sort of alluded to in the 1.0 presentation at CitizenCon, there's been a desire to get more emphasis on starting to build the storylines and the characters of Star Citizen Universe and getting them actually in game.
The way the content patches are going to break down are we're ultimately trying to provide new content to you each month. Alongside all of this, we're going to be essentially providing new missions, new events, kind of a lot of what we've done before, but taking it up to the next level.
This was an opportunity to start figuring out ways to engage the players in...
God, you can literally hear the quantum travel bug in the background there.
This was an opportunity to start figuring out ways to engage the players
I hate that sound.
A growing and expanding storyline.
We're going to be sending you all the way around the verse, doing lots of different varied types of gameplay. You'll still be doing events that are prevalent to a story that we're going to be working on as well.
I got you covered!
Don't call them events. Just confusing.
Well as new missions that build up the existing roster that we actually have in game already. There will be some content that is only there for a limited amount of time, but ultimately a lot of this content is still going to persist when we hit to Star Citizen 1.0. So we're actually building out the larger content map that exists in the game. On top of that, there's going to be a huge focus now on...
I think that's a key detail a lot of people missed. It's like before Star Citizen would release stuff that was kind of just useless long term. But this year they very much focused on dropping stuff that you know they're going to keep around.
Stability and quality of life too, because we want a stable environment for our developers to work in, but we also want a stable game that's less buggy, less crashes, and much more pleasant for you guys to play day to day.
So, again, this was like the February/March energy and communications going on. Around that same time, they did a little dev diary on performance and stuff, but then they released Alpha 4.1.
The last 4 months.
And this is where we really got to see the first bit of what content was actually going to look like in 2025.
for a while now, and we're really excited to like finish off that boss fight and bring it to everybody as soon as possible. But in the process of developing it, we've also got some smaller Valakar.
Valakar are a tremendously invasive species. Basically, once they kind of get into an area, they propagate rather quickly and can become a very dangerous presence.
I don't like facing the small
Valakar. The
Valakar.
adults on a much smaller scale.
They're very annoying.
Because they come up from the ground submerged, they can surprise the player in the way that they come up behind them or can attack them from areas where they don't expect.
The Valakar will also fight the other Ninetales at the location if you've managed to find a way to let them be in each other's presence.
So it's going to be you against other players, against other Ninetales, against other worms?
Yeah, real Mexican standoff.
I like it. I actually like the Hathor locations, but I know these have been not a huge favorite for a lot of people. Now, what else came with 4.1 was the Golem. And this also, I think, was a pretty significant release of the game. I actually considered this to be a feature release because it has jump jets, which I do think are going to be a feature they make more use of going forward.
Yeah, containers.
But this is the first time we realized they were really going to start going in on mechs, and it wasn't just that cargo-focused one.
Once the container on your back is full, you can then detach it and replace it with a new one. But the most unique thing about the Geo is a new functionality: jump and hover.
We lost it for this. We were freaking so excited.
Of course, but then you can leap quite.
Oh, did I say Golem? Oops.
You can enforce the jump or simmer down the jump or the landing process by firing the thrusters.
You can press space to jump and then keep pressing space or hold it to give a thrust and kind of fly.
While you're in the air, you can maintain a small hover. You can adjust your aiming as you're landing. If you get stuck in a ravine or something, you can jump out to escape.
It's hilarious. It's fun.
We also did some updates to the existing Atlas, so it has now a health bar integrated into the frame, so you always see the health status of your Atlas. It also has a battery slot now.
Yeah, and
as of now.
This was actually part of this smaller bit in this update that, if I'm not mistaken, got quite a bit ignored. And that was the mining updates. There were mining updates here, right? Yeah, this. So I know this isn't a huge thing, but it was like in the midst of this being dropped into the game that people were like, everything is combat. They're not doing anything for anyone else but combat. And of the people I talked to, this was actually a pretty appreciated mining update. Not just this, but I think there was one more later on in the year, and then another one right now in 4.5. And on top of that release of the mech for mining, which is, you know, I think nice, we also got the Golem, which was the first time we saw a true starter ship for a profession. I think this was a really big move as well, and ultimately not at all focused on combat.
A new starter ship from Drake for people looking to get into mining.
It's very bare bones. They seen the prospector and was like, we can do that, maybe. And then went to the scrapyard and grabbed a bunch of stuff and stuck it together. Star Miner is, instead of having all these fancy heads that do fancy things and you skip a couple of steps, it's learning how to do mining, learning how the different heads and different consumables help.
I believe the best part is it's
this is part of playability, in my opinion. This idea of introducing the true starter focused, beginner focused types of gameplay rather than just throwing people in and telling them, here's a prospector, here's a mole, learn how to mine. You got to get people with their hands on FPS tools, with a rental version, or even like taking a mission where they run you through mining and then eventually they rent you out a golem to try it out. and then you turn that in at the end of the mission. These are the kinds of things I think make the game a lot better to play. Definitely make them better to get into. And as we can see from this letter from the chairman, with new people, or this was the previous year, as you can see from this year's letter from the chairman, with new people coming in and them trying to expand their numbers, they obviously need to focus on getting as many people into a better beginning starter scenario as possible. The final thing that we saw, or the final big focus we saw in this update, oh, this is all the Align of Mind stuff, was something that I think everybody is just seems so happy about. This guy. Your boy Wicklow.
Welcome.
How? Welcome. I don't think we have anything else that highlights him or the things he does. But we all know Wicklow, right? We know Wicklow pretty well. He was, I think, I mean, he's a test case. Yeah, he's made to basically test the ability to hand things in and get something back. But unfortunately, he's being overused, misused, I think. I think he's both kind of a test for crafting. I think he's also the kind of person that's going to be a shopkeeper. Like if you go back to their I think it was 2021 demo, where they go down to the Pyro outpost and they're like shopping.
Old civilization that
right?
destroyed itself.
They're talking to this shopkeeper. I think this is our Wicklow in the future. I think this, at least the logic of Wicklow, could be used for this. Absolutely. Anywhere you go, they have different stuff you can get. And it's not really so much about you go to them, you get its quest, and then you go and try to find that stuff. You go to their part of the game, you explore their part of the game, you find unique items in that part of the game, and then you take them back to this shopkeeper to see what they can give you. So I think that they're onto something with Wicklow, and I think he's a necessary advancement for the game, but I do understand that like his implementation has been pretty rough and people have not been enjoying it. And if there's one clear thread of discontent throughout the year, I think that's it. Some people really love it, but there's so many complaints. I wouldn't say Wicklow is this year's Master Modes, but he's got a fan club. It'd be cool if you could get some stuff from him for building ships so that he's more of a broker of rare things. Yeah. The whole idea of trading and bartering with an NPC is going to be cool. You don't know where to get the stuff he is asking for, even with looking it up on the internet. Exactly. It's exactly why I think that the process is backwards. That you shouldn't go to him, find the things to get, and then bring them back. You should be out naturally getting things. And then when you check in with him, you can see what you're missing, or what you still need to get, or what you do have and can unlock. I guess they both work mostly the same way. It's more of the player's interaction that defines how that works, but we're definitely pushed to take the contracts first, and also you can't find those resources that naturally, so you're not just going to happen across them. Looks like they put out their own year in review video. All right, let's continue. Where were we? Align of Mind came out. They released the Golem. Wicklow was there. And then we got the Starlancer TAC. And they started to talk to us about some new advancements in missions. This was exciting to hear. Let's listen to just a little bit of this, because I think this really put into perspective how different the delivery of content was going to be this year outside of just these large named activities, sandbox locations, and events.
In Alpha 4.1.1, we are going to be dropping about 60 new missions, and it's going to be our biggest drop since 4.0. Let's start with our...
He says it's going to be our biggest drop since 4.0, but I don't think they've ever dropped 60 missions in an update. Maybe 4.0 had 60 missions. I feel like there's maybe a few updates that had that many missions in them.
Our big headliner, Hunt the Polaris. Hunt the Polaris is a mission where the Frontier fighters have stolen a UEE Polaris, which was bound for Invictus, and they're trying to escape with it and get it back to Pirate. Your job is to stop them.
This is a very not popular event.
To stop them, you are chasing them around Stanton. You have to search for them, you have to ambush them, you have to defend other ships from them as well as they continue on their path to Pyro.
When you encounter the Polaris, it won't be alone. It will have some Frontier fighter friends as backup.
Let's get the hell out of here.
What's really cool about this mission is you don't even have to do it alone.
The Polaris quantumed away.
So that was just one part of it, but there was also this stuff up here.
It's a mission for...
No, for tactical masterminds.
So Foxwell is giving these ambush missions because they are being paid by outside contractors to take down dangerous individuals around the Phantom and Pyro systems, which are causing trouble for their clients. And Handhunters, well, they just ambush anyone. They want stuff.
When you get to the ambush location, you will be asked to hide inside a new high emission zone.
Which means that the enemy can't detect you when they jump in. So
They're
first
not wearing helmets. You guys are crazy.
And they're going to scan for their valuable transport.
Imagine going out and dogfighting and ambushing people and not wearing a helmet. What? So new missions were coming in, and things are rolling through. Now, like was mentioned in chat, we lost a lot of missions with 4.0, so this was a great addition, but it also was still like, hey, what about the other stuff? That being said, it was a great thing overall to see more combat missions coming in, specifically having NPCs running you through them and having some narrative attached to them made them a lot better. Also worth noting is the factions that they're mentioning here and the things that they're bringing in during the entire year. It's good to keep coming back to this page specifically because this is a page that 1.0 is going to depend largely on. What factions are giving us our missions, what reputation is going to matter. And if you look at the names in here, you start to see some of the people, you start to see some of the factions being added. None of these. Sports Federation, okay. Rayari, research and retrieve missions. High Point Wilderness Specialist, research, capture animals, hunt animals, we've seen those. Obviously, ICC is going to be where most people who want exploration gameplay are going to be getting their missions. That's not in yet. Has been mentioned, though. But then you go to the Mercenary Guild, and you'll see Foxwell Enforcement is there, Citizens for Prosperity is there, Intersect Defense Solutions is there, you got Hawkrow Agency, the Bounty Hunters Guild, North Rock Service. These are all factions that we've seen starting to get missions in the last year. So it becomes clear that they are working towards their 1.0 goals, at least for the factions. And that was a big thing I noticed in 2025. I think it was good. The Headhunters are also here. Dead Saints have just started putting in some missions as well. The Bit Zeros started giving us missions earlier this year. No, sorry, maybe not the Dead Saints. Was it the Drop Kings? No, it's the Dead Saints because they're the ones who are doing the smuggling. So it's slow and it's not all in your face, but this is like a little thing in the background that I think is worth noting. Let's see what else was going on. Okay, so Invictus Week hit in May, and this is like the second biggest time of the year for them, as you can see on the lovely funding tracker. In May, they made $29 million compared to November's 32. Not quite as high, but pretty dang big. In the previous year, May, 25. Before that, 19. Before that, 21. Before that, 13. And before that, 16. So 29 is a huge jump for them. $4 million off of their previous biggest year. And a lot of that was due to this guy, the Idris. The Idris has been in the roadmap backlog, I want to say since like 2013. 2012 was when we saw the first Idris introduced. So for 13 years, this game was just a JPEG. Not quite, actually. We got to go on board it. It was used in a lot of in-game things. We just couldn't personally bring our own Idris out. It was not just a JPEG. It was actually, it's been around for a while because it's a Squadron 42 asset, but this was the first time they brought it out and allowed players to have it, and it was hype. Not only was it so hype from the player's perspective, CIG themselves came out and did like 16 rounds of sales on this thing, I think. Let me see if I can find that. Invictus Week, Idris sales rounds. See if this kind of stuff, we can find this just by a search. So here we go. Stock limited sales. These ships are considered exclusive and are therefore only sold in limited quantities over a small amount of time. Each stock limited ship is limited to 1 per account, and sales windows are usually available in 3 waves. First wave was day 1 for the Idris. Second wave was day 3 for the Constellation Phoenix. Third wave was day 11 for the Kraken. But I'm pretty sure they did like, what year was this? This is 2955. Didn't they do multiple waves of the Idris? I think they like opened up more waves for the Idris after it got all nummed. I know they did even more waves for the Idris later on in the year in August, but the Idris was a big part of this Invictus Week. It wasn't the only part though. They actually had a few interesting ship sales during Invictus Week we can look at. I believe the Starlancer TAC came out around that time. Obviously the big one though was the Idris.
Patience. It's not passive. Not idle. It's quiet preparation. Sharpened intention. Resolute. To watch and wait. So, you hold against haste.
It's a cool trailer.
Beyond fear. Because you trust. From that quiet, your moment will come.
As long as you got a crew. Your moment will come, and then you see like 4 Ares come out of nowhere. Yeah, that was a pretty big moment for the game, and there was a lot of kind of rumor that it was going to happen. They were releasing teasers. I don't know if you guys remember, but like on their Twitter profile and stuff, they'd put out little pictures, and people were like, are they about to sell the Idris? Are they about to put the Idris in game? Because they had originally said they weren't going to do it till Squadron. But this year, as has been made apparent, they were kind of focused on making some money. So they brought some more ships to market than I think was probably going to be the case. Good ship. It's a freaking carrier, so you can transport vehicles, 1,300 SCU of cargo, a whole bunch of bodies, and your 3rd mortgage on your house. Opies, thank you so much for the super chat, dude. You're thinking the other day the Kraken and the BMM might come around the same time. What? I think the Kraken comes out and then they go and they look at the BMM after that. I don't think they'll release them at the same time. I would hope so, but I don't know. BMM's pretty big time. Pretty big deal. At the same time, they also did the Starlancer, which I know a lot of you love. I personally love the Starlancer. Yeah, this came out in May as well. I think the Starlancer... Excuse me. Talking about the ship makes me burp sometimes. I think the Starlancer is one of the better sized ships for like a group of 4 or 5 people. It just really fits a nice spot. I would love to see something like this sized from CNOU, maybe, or Crusader.
You don't have access to every single gun on it. There's only 4 pilot-controlled guns.
I don't like the C2, so I don't suggest it.
That it has these new 2 twin size 5 man turrets.
What makes this MISC is the shape language that was used to make this turret. It replicates the exterior of the ship, which contains round forms, welded forms, and chunky shapes.
Space Whale.
MISC as a manufacturer are kind of really proud of their manufacturing and they're not afraid to show it. You kind of see all the compound forms that reveal the underlying structure, where the fuel cells are, but it's a little more refined. Paneling is a lot cleaner. It's not something like a Drake ship where everything is just completely exposed.
Yeah, this is like a mini Carrack.
I really like the MISC look. It's got this sort of darker stealth armor, so it looks really like sleek. The guys have done a really great job with the lighting on it. It's got this like really mean looking red lighting. It just looks really sick.
It'll be interesting to see how the build is used as a crafting and base building ship. Okay, now, are you guys ready? Because something big happened at Invictus Week. It was the drama of the year. We have to touch on it. It has to happen. Flight blades. Flight blades were introduced at Invictus Week as components that go into your ship's computer ports to adjust flight behavior in 2 key ways: speed and maneuverability. Honestly, the addition of blades themselves is not... I don't think anybody has a problem with these. I don't think it's considered any sort of controversial thing. The controversial part of this was here, which they did change the answer of, so now it's not as controversial, but it said, will flight blades be able to be purchased from in-game stores? Originally it said, I guess it still said basically the same thing, that they were going to follow their normal route of only offering them for cash and then bringing them to the stores later. But this was a weird change because components haven't really been used like that before. Like, they said this as if flight blades were ships. Ships do have some level of exclusivity where they get released and you can't get them in game for 2 quarters or whatever, and then you can buy them in game. But like components and stuff really haven't been used like that. And these are components, right? Like you can see here, they list them as components. You can see here, they list them as ship components. Like these are subcomponents in the same way that your fuses are subcomponents, that your filters are subcomponents in your life support. This ultimately introduced people to the idea that, okay, we're going to be able to buy quantum drives and power plants and shield modules and all that kind of stuff on the store now, rather than needing to like go into contested zones or go into other places where it might be more or less rare. Because ships are out the door, right? You can't, you gotta buy ships regardless. They're trying to make some of them more rare to get in game, but ships are out the door, and components were kind of seen as the thing that wouldn't be. So when this came out, it caused a lot of hubbub, myself included, and people think that, like, I'm sure people are watching this right now that are thinking it was overblown and nobody should care about that, but I do think that everybody has a line in the sand of how far they're willing to let monetization be taken in order to make money for the game. Let me see if I can pull up the... Can't remember his name. Oh, here's that Idris Wave stuff. Okay, so here was the statement that they put out on it afterward. Throughout Star Citizen's evolution, one fundamental principle has remained paramount. Everything you pledge for to support our development will eventually be attainable through gameplay. Your contributions help push things forward, but your time in the verse should be equally rewarded. We're pushing 11 patches this year. This is just like a lot of, here's what we're doing. To be clear, the new flight blades will be attainable for AUEC in our next patch this June. We followed our usual approach by offering early access on the Pledge store to help support development, but after some reflection, we've decided that for smaller components like flight blades or bomb racks, they should be available in-game at the same time they appear on the store. The choice has and always should be yours. If you want to support the project early, you can, but it's not required. If you own a game package, you'll be able to pick these up with in-game currency in our next monthly patch. And for our future gameplay kit introductions, we'll ensure these items are obtainable in-game on day one. Now, I'm pretty sure they did bring in the L22 Wolf. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I've not been able to find them, but maybe I'm just a little bit blind. With the L22 Wolf, they brought in new guns. Here we go. These weapon kits. I don't believe these are available in-game, but I might be wrong about that. If anybody in chat can... Yeah, you bought one? Okay, cool. So these are available in-game day one. So they're sticking to that. But, obviously, the big thing was that these were being brought into the game and put on the store simultaneously anyways. A lot of people don't want them in the store at all, because, again, there's the monetization angle. But this caused a lot, I mean a lot, of attention, as you can see just from the Google search I did. You just type in Star Citizen flight blades, and it was everywhere. We'll type in controversy just for some good. It was everywhere. There were videos from all kinds of people and discussions all around the internet, the interwebs. Obviously, a lot of it was being had by people who don't actually understand Star Citizen. And like, oh my God, here we go. Our gaming. Can't even imagine what all this stuff says. But I think there's a different take on this kind of thing from people who are actively in Star Citizen and understand kind of how it works and the direction it's going, versus people from outside just hearing that Star Citizen is charging more money for stuff. Either way, it's less about the flight blades and more about what might happen in the future. So we'll see where they go with it. Flight blades are an awful thing as they are now. Ship performance changes should come from tweaking the thrusters and other stuff on the ship, not by inserting a disc. I wouldn't mind some kind of tuning gameplay to be involved with the blades themselves. Like you can edit their settings in the engineering panel. There were rumors at that time that a new guy from some AAA company took over marketing, and this would have been one of their first moves. They were there for a little while already by then. They were there, I think, at the end of 2023. But yeah, it mainly came from mobile game stuff before this. You don't like the idea of cash for components? Neither do I. You rock. You know that? Yeah, we went over the letter from the chairman. Didn't think there was much on Squadron, but solid to see them talk about it a little bit. Hello, Sekul. Thank you for the super chat, dude. Appreciate you. Okay, here's just notification that they were doing more sales of the Idris during Invictus Week, and as you can see, you know, there's some comments. So all these people crying about flight blades, they'll be boycotting this Idris sale, right? I do genuinely think that's missing the point. That, like, I get where they're coming from. Clearly releasing the Idris more and more is because they want more money. but like the flight blades are different from the ship. I don't know. But yeah, everybody's kind of reacting to this. You know, there's just a lot going on in May. It's a very exciting time. This person has some stuff to say about the waves that they're releasing the Idris in. There isn't enough stock per wave, and they further reduced it. We had to fight bots. Bots have been a real problem this year with buying ships. Proof was on this subreddit, and posters freely admitted to doing it. Random errors, wave releasing early or late in the time. There's just, you know, you don't think that there's a lot that has to do with releasing a spaceship digitally for people to buy, but there is. All right. So after Invictus Week cooled down a bit, we started to see some stuff about 4.2, or Stormbreaker. This was the next update, and it actually introduced what they were calling at the time their B story, which I think we can all say doesn't feel like the B story anymore. This definitely became the A story. And this was a rough addition, I think, because it was the first true boss battle in Star Citizen that wasn't just a more powerful spaceship. And it really started to highlight the dynamics of doing things both group-based and solo-based, and what the fact that there would need to be soft barriers that they put in front of people's faces to let them know, hey, this is meant more for like a group of people, this is more for solo people. You can do either if you want, but it's going to be more difficult, because a lot of people went into Stormbreaker and there's a lot of frustration about how difficult it was for people who weren't necessarily running in a group, which, you know, MMOs do. But that wasn't the biggest controversy with this edition. No, you guys want to know what the biggest controversy with this update was? Because it's really funny. This one got to people, man. Here, take a listen.
Stormbreaker is all about taking the next step in exploration game.
God, wait, I think I got something for that, don't I? Don't I have something for that? No, I don't. Just one of these. This one got to people because exploration is a triggering word to many folks. I think mainly because exploration can mean a lot of things, and so when it gets brought up, people, like, if you're not talking about it in the way that they want to hear it, then you're gonna have a problem. So you could probably scroll down to the comments, to be quite honest, and see people, yeah, I missed the exploration part. Exploration and PvP, exploration gameplay. When will exploration be implemented? PvP is exploration. It's unfortunate, but everybody listened to that statement and then not the next sentence. Let me keep playing it for you guys.
Play. Making exploration work in Star Citizen actually requires you to go out and build locations that players want to visit. That's what we're doing now.
See, with context, it sounds completely reasonable. In order for exploration to exist at some point, there's got to be locations to visit. But unfortunately, because we all have the goggles of a 2-month-old, everything that happens must be necessary for whatever is the next 2 weeks of content. So, you know, the first chance you get to go, he shouldn't have said it, to be honest. That's the problem. Just don't say things that have to do with long-term stuff. What he meant, in my opinion, is like they just want to have more and more places that you can find without having to take a beacon to get there. And this was the first time they tried to do that. He shouldn't have said that they were trying to do it. They should stick with whatever is literally in the patch, which is the whole go through and find the ASD location stuff. But ultimately, this was another opportunity for them to try and build locations that are using old assets. The Hathor facility used the Theaters of War assets, which you can easily find in their video of it. No. Good Lord, where did they talk about theaters of war? Yeah, I think Board talks about it a little bit here. It's terrible quality. I think in these videos you can see a little bit, like you see the laser here, you can see these buildings here. This is all Hathor stuff, and it was built back in 2019. So that one's just clear. And then you can look up the Good Doctor, which is a arena commander map in Star Citizen that uses... Sorry, I'm on the wrong browser. Thank you, Morph, for this video. So you can see this is very clearly the stuff they used for the ASD locations. These were just opportunities for them to push forward some story without using too much effort and add some interesting flavor elements into it that they were just trying to get players to play together, and this is the easy way to do so. Them saying exploring means going to a theme park location for the first time was also one of the lowlights of this year. But that's not what they're saying, man. Dude, he didn't say exploration is going to a location for the first time. He literally said exploration is building locations to go to later. They don't mean this mission. Either way, that was Stormbreaker. And let me give you actually a quick look at what he was even supposed to include, because we haven't touched on what the actual update is.
Day 96. This is it. The breakthrough I knew would happen. The specimen holds answers far beyond their comprehension. Even the infants serve my purpose. They need an end to the regen crisis, and I will deliver it, despite my colleagues' protests. That is why I am essential. Where they see life, my mind sees the design. The data locked in flesh that must be harvested.
Creep. Don't say things that weird.
Science will not cower to moralistic fear. Progress requires clarity, not sentiment. To discover is to survive. To evolve is to rule. Once again, they put their future in the hands of science, yet still refuse to trust its judgment, its results. It's my responsibility to push forward. I must. I will save us all.
He didn't save us all. So that's the Stormbreaker event. Honestly, it's my least favorite major edition of the year. I'm not a big fan of the location. But it was our first boss fight. And it started off a story that I did think that led to my favorite part of the year. But it was definitely, I think Stormbreaker was the least interesting of the sandbox activities this year. Your point is that exploration is one of the professions, and this is not what a lot of people imagined for that game loop. But a lot of people also, like, we don't, what we see from salvage isn't what we imagine for the game loop. What we see from mining, at least when it first was added, isn't what we imagined. Even what we're getting right now from ship combat isn't really what we imagined. Like, when they say things like this, they're looking at this from the game development standpoint, right? They're looking at it from, this is one addition of probably 5 that I know specifically I'll be adding over the next 2 years. And each of these locations is going to be something that I am personally putting into the ability that players can find something and discover something new to themselves. For us, though, we're looking at this from the point of, this is the next update, this is the update after that, this is the update after that. What are you putting in that's going to change those updates? So when they say, yeah, this will be great for exploration, they're thinking in 1.0 when there's 4,000 players in Pyro, and most of them haven't visited the places, they're going to go out and explore Pyro and find a random location like this and follow it through. They're not going to go on their mobiGlass, look through a mission text, accept a beacon, fly to that beacon and do that thing. And that is exploration. It's not the profession of exploration. It's not everything we're going to be doing for it. It's just one small part of it. But my problem is that people aren't thinking about that. We're just jumping to the conclusion that they're trying to say that all exploration is going to be coming to these pre-made locations and shooting people. And that's... we can't possibly think that.
I need the olives. Olives.
Because they also...
the olives
they also
is what I
say...
need.
God damn it. I hate olives! Leave me alone! But they all... because they also talk about other things in exploration. This isn't the only time they mention it. Stop it with the olives. Who is it? Somebody said something about me eating olives. Or that I need that more olives. You're evil. That's terrible to say. That's rude. You personally, when you hear exploration in a space game, you're imagining something that requires way more star systems than what is in-game currently. Yeah. It's definitely not what you typically will think of in a space game when it comes to exploration. I would say the exploration here is probably going to be more akin to Starfield than Elite Dangerous. Like, you're looking more for items and locations and resources than you are for new star systems or space anomalies and stuff. That's not like that stuff can't happen. But, yeah. But what is it an exploration ship is going to be designed for? All right, so here's what I'm talking about. Like, this is the whole... They've talked so much about exploration in this game. I've made videos about this too, but genuinely I think people are choosing to only hear that one part, that one bit, and think that that's all exploration. So I'm going to pull this up where they do talk about exploration, just so that we know it's there. So here we have this statement, right?
Stormbreaker is all about taking the next step in exploration gameplay.
All right. And then we can come to this one.
Transient jump
This is
points
the same song.
are more ethereal.
First you have to find them, and once you've found them, you don't know where they go.
We like to call in the narrative team the Swiss cheese approach to jump points, which are smaller access points to the main tunnel. Those will still be restricted by small, medium, and large. So basically it opens up opportunities for smaller ships to kind of sneak their way through.
All right, there you go. Exploration ships are not going to places to do PvP. They're finding jump points. Oh, there's also another spot. Hold on, wait for it. There are a lot of these throughout the years. Sorry, not that one. That would be... here.
At scale for the...
Not sure I can find the exact moment where he mentions this, but let's see. Pretty sure it's... Ooh, where would it be? Here?
Just in the building of the new planets for the Nyx system. We will also go back through Stanton and Pyro and reimagine them through the lens of our technology. Previously, and more traditionally, we'd create slices of biomes, like deserts or forests. This approach moved us forwards and got us this.
All right, let's see.
Layer to it. Over the years, you sort of
improving the generation method of those asteroids to culminate towards this specific point to make large, explorable location. When you fly,
Trying to find there's a point where art director says they want you to explore using the planet tech. God, I don't know where it is. Would have been somewhere further down. I'm not gonna spend a lot more time on it, to be honest, because you could just go to this. Go to Starchives, search for the word explore, and find all the different times they've talked about this stuff outside of just the one point where they briefly mentioned an area with FPS gameplay. Did they ever talk about medical gameplay? Because that's what you're waiting for most. They've talked about it in some relatively disappointing ways, not gonna lie. Yeah, see, there are different places. Some of it isn't necessarily saying specifically exploration gameplay, but if you start to look into more of these locations where they talk about this stuff, it becomes apparent that exploration is mainly supposed to be about resource gathering and finding unique like derelicts and space stations and stuff like that. Anyways, a little bit of a sidetrack. Oh, that link is wrong, by the way. The link for the Toby in the chat, it's actually 20% off right now, not 5%. Bad bot. They haven't created an information rights system, so they can't implement exploration when every player knows just as much about locations as other. Yeah, we know where everywhere is, which is not ideal. Do you have a deep dive video on exploration? I think so. Should be. Space tomate. No, I guess not. But I do have a video on exploration itself. I guess I should tag these better because they don't really show up much. This isn't really a deep dive, but it does go over the same stuff that I'm talking about here today mostly. You can watch that if you'd like. But yeah, this was just another location like Hathor. Sorry, we spent a lot of time on 4.2. I do want to touch on, like, during this time in June, there were some interesting bits of development going on in the monthly reports. This was one of the only times in the whole year when they did mention the Reputation V2 system. There's a really big part of progression in this game that we're still missing. They said that work continued on it. They are moving generic contracts over to guilds and factions, which is what we've been seeing throughout the year. Something key to note, we mentioned the factions earlier that are coming with Star Citizen 1.0. It's important that those factions are being brought into the game, but it's equally as important that the missions that they're taking are actually being assigned to a faction. That's what they're describing here. They're taking the random missions that we would get from just anybody and not really do much with, and they're giving them to guilds and factions so we get reputation. Hopefully, I would have loved if he had mentioned this in the letter from the chairman. Reputation kind of sucks in the game right now. It's annoying. But we'll get there, right? Right? Yeah. Hey, no problem, Dash. Thanks for the sub, by the way. If people scan and find valuable caves and want to sell its marker, why would they put it on a wiki? Like you said, it needs to be RNG created or data mining will expose it. Next up, we had another monthly report for July, and I think there was some interesting stuff being developed in here too. Let's see, core gameplay wise. Yes, they were talking about hacking. They were talking about crafting. They began technical work on the inventory. Engineering was entering the tech preview. This was engineering entering the tech preview preparation. This was July. This was the time that we were saying we should be seeing the tech preview be used at this point. But at this point, they were only just preparing to get into the tech preview, and we didn't know, but it wouldn't actually make it into the tech preview for another, what, 5 months? August, September, October, November, 4 months? Yeah. So it was a great sign, and it was good news, but it was definitely still far away at this point. We didn't know how far. What else were they working on? They were working on FPS radar and scanning, which we're still waiting for in the game. And I believe there was some other, yeah, control surfaces and the flight system was going on. This was a really great update for core gameplay. But as you can see, a lot of what has been going on with the monthly reports this year is still not visible to us. Prior to 2024, a lot of this stuff would have been showing up in Inside Star Citizens and little sprint reports and stuff, but they've opted to not show us these things as early on anymore. And that was becoming pretty apparent by this point in 2025. Just going by their YouTube channel even, you could see the amount of videos they were releasing. Like that was here. This is July. And that's the end of the month. Going back to other years, you could find like this is a whole year right here. This is June, or this is January. And you got what, 2, 6, 10, 14, 18, 22, 26, 30, 34, 38, 42, 46, 50, 54, 58. Wow. 60, wait, did I pass a year? Red Festival, 2953. So this would have been the beginning of 2024. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, right? Yeah, this is around May, 32, 36, 40, 44. This would have been around August. 48, there's CitizenCon. 52, 56, Ship Showdown. 60, Pirate Week. How did we get to Pirate Week? So they just really dropped off on the Inside Star Citizens, wherever this is right here. But this is about 50 videos in one year. That would have been 2023, I think. As compared to this year, it was... let's see, about 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40. Okay. 44, 48, 52, 56. Dude, that's actually... I guess because they had all these trailers for ships. Man, they really just replaced them with inside, behind the ships. Because a lot of this year, if you look at the Inside Star Citizens that came out, they're basically about the ships. We got one about performance capture at the beginning of the year, but besides that, there was this one about the Hornet. This one's about the new mission. This one was a content update, so that was good. This one's about the Golem. This one's about hairstyles. This is about the Star Lancer, new missions and update. MTC, Idris, Mirai Guardian, Anvil Asgard, new update. Esperia Prowler, new update. Meteor, new update. L21 Wolf, new update. Apollo, new update. No, this is a trailer. RSI Perseus, RSI Salvation, Drake Clipper, Drake Golem, L2022 Wolf, MDC, and then we got one with engineering. That's what happens when they start bringing features back in. We get a good, interesting Inside Star Citizen again. So I guess they actually did get a lot of videos out this year, but so many of them were just trailers and advertisements for their ships that it was easy to think that there were a lot less. Seems Jared took up a lot of new responsibilities. I mean, he definitely is doing more behind the scenes than in front of the camera now, but he also seems like he wants to get more video productions going, which I love to hear. All right, let's continue. We're going a little slow. Why don't we pick things up a bit? After the update that I just covered, which was what update? I don't know. We were in August. So August brought with us the Resource Rush, which was, I want to say, simultaneously the best part and worst part of the game this year. It was an incredible opportunity for people to get into an event that was not really focused around combat at all. Some of it was a little combat, but for the most part, race for Stanton? Is that what they have it on there as? Yes. For the most part, it was cargo focused, and it exposed some problems with the game. I think simultaneously it exposed problems with the game, exposed kind of what people are looking to do, and it got people to think about the game in a different way. We were suddenly thinking about the meta for cargo hauling and how to cooperate with people and taking on a challenge that was global. This was the first time we ever got progress bars that everybody added to that you could race against other teams with and get rewards for. And I think it was a much bigger moment for the game than we give it credit for, because I don't think we will ever go back to having competitions in game that don't have account-bound rewards now. And this was an important moment to solidify that. This also solidified that the freight elevators were awful and they had a lot of work to do on them. But as a game in development and testing, I actually want them to do more things that break the game so we can figure those things out. So when it actually matters, it ain't happening as much. Now this was, I think, also a really good moment for the narrative team to flex and start getting people more invested in the lore. And I would like to point out that back in the beginning of 2024, we got a pretty big update that narrative was moving away from Squadron and starting to focus more on the Star Citizen in-game stuff. And I think this is a very, very clear, direct effect of that. And I love how it came out. Check this out.
Mighty, supreme, Hurston Dynamics. Submit yourself. Greatest empire in human history. Be lifted from obscurity to a higher purpose. Rise, instrument of greatness.
I love how overbearing Hurston is compared to everyone else.
Devote your life.
Hey!
And then Crusader
it's your
comes
girl
in.
Molly! Vibing with my new Crusader crew. Hashtag besties, hashtag sponsored. Gathering resources and spilling the tea.
That guy's probably dead. That guy must have just died, right? Like, that's really bad for you.
Sponsored. Gathering resources and spilling the tea. Food
So
is
microtech.
100% not organic, and I had to sleep in a bunk. Ew. This is gonna be like
Shut
really hard on
up.
me.
Hardcore is where you'll find the grafters, the grinders, the dealers. Yeah, we borrow, sometimes steal, but we never beg.
Yeah, it's very
when that
hardcore.
bounty's in your sights, hustle, keep going. Through the blood.
Very cyberpunk.
Major
You can tell she's even trying to. It's dark here. It's so dark. It's ArcCorp. Techno.
lines. This uniform is not serving sun-kissed glow. Miners, do not get fashion. But at least I snapped some cute pics. OMG, I'm a total mining boss.
Oh my god, I've been in this situation in an org event! I get it now! These are all just us! That's totally me! I'm even sometimes taking selfies in the game and then I get us in trouble. It's true! How many people have blown up in the third-person camera taking a nice screenshot? Come on. Come on. This is totally relevant.
You girls landed.
We just don't usually end up
Anyway,
alive.
Go Crusader. Right, guys?
Microtech is tomorrow. Your contributions will help our dedicated scientists and engineers maintain our place at the edge of advancing research.
I half expect one of those scientists to snort some drugs on the side. Microtech's crazy.
Provides. Hurston commands. Hurston dominates.
Our labs and our facilities thrive on curiosity. We push further, think smarter, and
for glory. Sleep when you're dead, and do it for you, because the next score won't wait.
Join Microtech.
Crusader.
Faster.
That's a solid trailer, man. I'm very excited to see how much more they can keep building on the lore, because the lore in Star Citizen's so interesting to me. I'm a easy to please sci-fi nerd, so your mileage may vary, but I find it to be very good. And I've been annoyed at how much it's not been in the game. So to see this stuff actually happening in the game now is, yeah, that's been one of my highlights of the year. It's a low-key highlight, but it doesn't make the biggest difference to the game overall. But it makes it so much more enjoyable for me. And I would actually put that under a playability kind of update. Now, after that update, we moved on to 4.3. This was an interesting time because I believe there was some... we started to get some senses of the tech preview being used. Mainly it was for Vulcan and, FPS improvement stuff, but it was around that same time of year. This would have been September. Ship Showdown's going on. We all know that the Polaris won it because Polaris is big and powerful, yay. And it was kind of like the calm before the storm almost. CitizenCon was still a little ways out, but these updates were dropping in. 4.3 was dropping in, and I think with some great stuff. What these did was they reintroduced underground facilities. All the way back in 2052, they introduced the ideas of these
big and
underground facilities, which ended up turning into distribution centers, but they split them up. The distribution centers were up on the surface. We got those. They don't really use them as much, but we got them. Underground facilities disappeared until 4.3 this year.
Little nooks and crannies. If we wanted to stealth into the location, we'd be able to give opportunities for the player there. And down below, this is what the player would kind of see. So now,
so we didn't actually get these parts of these facilities until 4.3.1, I think, or 4.3.2. But you can see that this is where the Onyx facilities came from.
Navigation to be as intuitive as possible. This is the upper area is blocked off, so the player has to go down below. So
it just goes to show how much they'll bring things up that they want to do, and those things don't end up happening. And they kind of figure out a way to include them in the game another way in the future. I'm wondering if the same sort of thing might happen with the air and halo belts. I'm certainly getting the feeling, though, that this is happening for a lot of stuff behind the scenes, especially when the Turbulent acquisition happened.
More towards the processing of it, maybe hydraulic cylinders for these elevators coming and going. Hierarchically, it's a different mood. So up above, it's cleaner, it's noisier, but down below, darker, more steamy. And again, that presents other opportunities.
And this is Ian Leyland, he's art director. So he talks a lot about what art is meant to do eventually, but not necessarily how the game is going to work. So you'll hear him say things like, you might do this, or you may be able to do this there. Oftentimes that gets brought up. That's because he's art. He's just doing the initial explanation. You can ask that to the upper higher ups. Why do you have the art people showing off stuff first? But, that's a different conversation. Anyways, 4.3 introduced the Onyx facilities. This is a continuation of that story we heard about earlier from the wormies being experimented on by that guy in Pyro. Remember that update I said was my least favorite? It led to this, which is like my most favorite.
Tomato will be with you shortly.
Mr. Ruben Soros, thank you for the sub, and Citizen Her, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, folks. Welcome in. I don't know what group to. What do I call your group? Citizens? Hers? Welcome. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate you. Hope you were playing some Star Citizen and having a good time. We are going over the year in Star Citizen, and it has been a long year. We're in like August, September time, touching on 4.3. Oh boy, but it's been quite a 2025. Good evening to the UK. Welcome in. Spicers. Okay, I can remember that, I think. You might have told me that before, and I already forgot it, but I promise I can remember at some point. Hawshock. Oh, Sevens, buddy. Welcome in. Thank you for bringing in the crew. Hope you had a lovely time on your own stream. Settle in, because this one's is testy. Hey, we don't go down that elevator. Hello? It's so funny that even like environmental dangers are interesting in Star Citizen. Yeah, the music is great too. I mean, if you had just let this person know you were there.
Some things are better left buried.
So it's getting you a little interested. What's going on? Why is there things? And it's, you know, like I said, the first time we really got a story. And I think it did a good job of building intrigue and getting people invested to actually find things out and experience a whole sequence rather than just trying out a list of features. Like these updates that we've been seeing that have these narrative additions. I know I was talking kind of about the difference between features back in this 3.0 era of updates versus 4.0. But something you'll never see here are narrative-focused additions. Maybe you'll get some kind of a dynamic event. Not even dynamic, it's more triggered event. But usually those are timed events, and they're pretty simple. They're not really story-oriented. So these additions have, I think, made a big difference to the game. Yeah, ASD stuff is one of my favorite additions, too. It's been really good. The underground facilities are hot. They good stuff. All right, around this same time, we got a pretty significant update to medical. So the Apollo was coming out in September, and it is a concept ship we've been waiting for since I think 2018, possibly 2017. 2018 was when the Apollo was introduced. So we've been waiting 6 years for it, and at this point, it was kind of assumed that like this was going to bring a pretty significant change to medical gameplay. And so it wasn't too surprising when we got a medical gameplay update guide with the ship. Now, what it did was it covered most of the stuff we already knew. Injuries, the things you're going to use to handle those injuries, how you'll use them, the different drugs that are available in the game, the beacon functionality, how medical beds work. Medical gel being the resource for med beds. This was a new introduction, but basically making it so that you can't just spam med beds all the time to use them for respawns constantly. You do have to still think about, you know, your supplies. And a little bit more of that stuff. It also talked about the ships that are being used for these things, hospitals, all that jazz. I think what this did was it both informed us that medical gameplay is shifting. It's shifting away from this idea of being a medical clinic or ambulance that's out there going out to people, picking them up and taking them to somewhere else. And it's going to be more about you playing an active medic in a certain position or place. So you could go and land your medical ship out by Hathor and use your ship to allow people to respawn at it and just stay there. I guess that is still kind of a clinic. But they've democratized medical gameplay a lot more to the point where I don't think you're going to need to use a ship like this just to be a random medic out in the verse somewhere anymore. It seems like it's less about limited respawning and more about limited resources used for respawning. That being said, it's not the only thing they said about medical. They also gave us a little look into where things are headed in the future. This was mainly focused on talking about respawning and medbeds, telling us how medbeds can have certain attributes that make them unusable. Be good to note that this could be why they don't have respawns working in ASD facilities right now, or that could be a glitch. I'm not sure. We'll have to follow up on that and check. But it also introduced the idea of a respawn screen. Don't know if you guys have all seen this, but this is, in my opinion, Another big change for Star Citizen. They say to account for these changes that are upcoming, including the ability to re-imprint and regenerate at multiple locations and apply a variety of status conditions to a medical bed, a new interface is currently in development. This will allow you to see game chat, it'll allow you to see your countdown info, incapacitated text, and it will let you see multiple locations where you can respawn based on what you've chosen in the past. I'm betting there's going to be quite a bit of information regarding how this will work. You'll probably have to specifically select each respawn location before you go out into battle, so you can't just pick one if it happens to show up. And that should give people who are flying medical ships a better ability to just float somewhere and be a clinic, like I was saying earlier, I guess. The one thing that I'm not too sure about here is like, what happens when you respawn on somebody's ship? How do you get to where you need to go? Are they going to have to fly every patient back to where they need to go? Or will there be some kind of shuttle they can call? I don't know, but this was a pretty big moment for medical gameplay because it both confirmed that medics looking forward to Star Citizen are going to need to kind of shift their expectations in what they might do as a medic. I think it also means that we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to understand that fully, but it also is just showing how much more lenient they're going to be medically for people in the game, despite still focusing on things like Death of a Spaceman. This is why when people freak out about Death of a Spaceman, I'm trying to say, like, don't worry. Clearly they're trying to still make this relatively forgiving. They just want to make you think more about these kinds of things. Just leaving your ship somewhere as a spawn isn't very interesting though, and rescue gameplay won't be meaningful until death is meaningful. This is true. Merry Christmas Eve's Eve from the Southern Hemisphere. Good Eve to you. Hope you're having a lovely day. Can I be a medic with a medical ship as a profession, or is it a combat role in a group? I think you could still be a medic as a medical ship, with a medical ship. Because there will be plenty of scenarios where people will get into medical trouble without being in combat. Radiation being a big one, I think. So yeah, then the Apollo came out, and they had plenty of things to say about it. I think the biggest thing was that the drones were not included in the initial concept, and that the size increased. They said, as with a lot of our older concepts, certain aspects of gameplay have changed or been revised, requiring adjusted metrics. In particular, the required space and angles for things like gurneys traversing the ship and using the rear ramp. So, definitely less... This is a problem they had with older ships, unfortunately. But this is just the way it is. These ships get freaking huge now. But yeah, no drones was a little disappointing, and honestly, I think there's not enough medical gameplay to validate this ship being added, but it is added. It's another ship off the backlog, and it was a solid addition in terms of how ships are. It's just not that useful, besides a respawn point. Jumping forward, we actually learned about Nyx. I'm going to skip over CitizenCon because there was so much in there. It's dense, and we got places to be. I will include, though, that CitizenCon did a good job, I think, of messaging about the year ahead, even more so than the year prior. 2024, they did an okay with their job with their messaging, but I think they missed out on a lot of stuff. 2025 was much better at focusing on a few key things that they were fairly certain of, rather than the ifs and maybes. Specifically, they touched on Nyx, which we found out at CitizenCon would be releasing the next month. In Nyx, we got a new asteroid belt, which is rendered a little bit differently. I feel like is a lot better than the ones we have in Stanton. We got a few new locations. We got some new commodities, smuggling missions, interstellar cargo runs, and Levski. It was a new faction, and it brings in a couple of new missions and stuff, but honestly, it's not a ton of content. It's really the look ahead that's more exciting for Nyx, unlike with Pyro, which was dropped in supposedly complete. It was nowhere near complete. But Nyx is being built like Stanton, which is over time. So while we do have the initial Nyx right now, and that was a great addition in November, there are things that definitely need to come to make it feel more full before you can call it your home and get all the content you want from there. As of right now, there's no FPS content, besides going and running the main storyline, and that's not good enough, in my opinion. Now we do have the breaker stations coming up. These will offer for some pretty interesting sandbox opportunities, both in combat and in mining. We'll have municipal works in Levski, which will be more instanced and kind of dungeon-esque locations, sort of like the ASD Undergrounds, but inside of a landing zone. Tactical strike groups will be bringing in pretty large groups of people to fight together. I'm very excited for this. I think this is going to be one of the most interesting parts of the year, as long as they do get social tools in. And then we're going to get their planets, which is coming with Genesis, the new Planet Tech. Planet Tech. So that should be cool as well. But those are 26. We're talking about 25. The Perseus was also released towards the end of the year, and with it was a ton of excitement. This is also a pretty anticipated ship, another one off the backlog. Not quite a capital, but it'll fight kind of like one.
Captain, you better get up here.
We're picking up a distress call.
General quarters. All hands to general quarters. Down that quarter. This is not true. General quarters. All hands to general quarter station. Up and forward starboard. Down that quarter. This is not true.
I love these. I love the cameras that they do that are attached to the head of the character when they're in the turret. It looks so cool. Especially when there's a little bit of flipping going on. I love those shots.
Reading multiple contacts.
Love the zoom. You waited a little bit. Ooh. Hell yeah. Love that. Yay. Ooh. Was that a pilot fired torpedo? I can't get over that. It's so funny. They love sticking to that. I wanted my quantum clouds to light up like that. Oh my god, I just realized they got all the big selling ships here for this shot. They were like, don't you love it? Give us your wallet! Fight the Vandal! So yeah, that was the release of the Perseus. Very high hype. They made a lot of money from that one, but also a lot of excitement. Honestly, I don't own the ship, But I've flown and served on one, and God, it's good fun when you have like a good 5 group. Anywhere from a 3 to a 5 to even like a 6-7 people group on the Perseus is a really good time. And I think that more than anything, we keep getting these different ships that are slowly building out this idea of larger scale ship combat. I know that they're trying to time it at the same time they're doing engineering or anything, but honestly, these big ships are coming really early for the gameplay they're supposed to be doing. And I like that they're kind of pressuring the devs to keep up with that gameplay so that they don't feel too out of place, because it is starting to become very apparent that we need things like social tools, we need better permission systems, hell, we even need a better ability to log on and off from people's ships if any of these ships are going to be a long-term reality. So we'll see what they do with it in 2026, but at least this release, coming off the back of the Idris and the Polaris, next year is going to be the Galaxy. We're also probably getting the Ironclad. Big ships, we're in the age of big ships. We also got the Salvation though, which was a tiny ship. This is the opposite. This was the one that we saw all the way back in this video. We looked at this at the beginning of the year.
So it was like, had some inspiration from that.
This is the RSI salvage they were looking to deliver, and they brought it in. Yeah. It looks a little similar, right? It looks mostly like what they were showing us. And again, this is just like the Golem. It's another sign that they're looking at the playability of the game from every level. They want people to be able to get into this game easily based on what they want to do. Obviously, this will sell well as a game package, but even in the game, this offers a really good opportunity for them to offer missions that, from like a mission giver, let's say you go to Nyx and Recco Battaglia is a mission giver who introduces you to mining. And in order to do the mission, she has you do a couple of things, but then she rents you out a Salvation. Much more feasible than renting you out a Reclaimer or something, right? So I think this makes for a nice spot in the game. Natural progression, industrial gameplay. It's only 14 meters long, so it's pretty small, and you can get it into different places doing different things. But it's also a good workhorse. We use a lot of these in our org ops now, when we're trying to do a whole bunch of salvage in a small area. And yeah, I think it's a good addition to the game. Right alongside the Golem, right alongside another one that we're about to see, the Golem Ox, and some other of the starter ships. We also got the Clipper around the same time. This is IAE. I'm just covering the last month or so of stuff now. Clipper, I just released a video on, is, I think, a monumental representation of this game. Much like the Perseus, Polaris, and Idris have like shown how big ship stuff is starting to happen in Star Citizen, I think the Clipper is showing us how the solo-focused gameplay is about to be really big. I actually posted about this on the tweets. I don't know if it's got any attention, but there is this belief that solo players are being scared off more and more from this game with each update. I personally think that there's a lot of things in this game that are not being hard locked off from solo players, and I think if anybody is being scared off from this game for solo gameplay, it's probably for the best. To be honest, if you don't feel like there is solo capable gameplay in this game right now, then you shouldn't play. Because all of the solo capable gameplay, at least a lot of it, is very much like make your own fun. You can run some combat missions, you can run investigation missions, you can go mining, you can go salvaging, all on contracts. But when it comes down to thinking there's no solo capable gameplay, if none of that is good enough and you're not having fun just flying around in the game running contracts or finding outposts and stuff, then yeah, you shouldn't be playing. It's not worth it. That being said, I think that the Clipper is a very clear sign that solo gameplay is important to them. I can't pause this. Maybe we can go to the trailer itself. If you look at the layout of the ship, which is where everyone has paused it, you have an engineering segment here. You have a habitation segment here. You have flight control here, medical gameplay, crafting gameplay, and cargo hauling. This is Star Citizen. Generally, when they're making ships in this game, they make them to fit whatever they think the game is at the moment. So you go back to the Cutlass Black, it's clearly a different ship than it would be if it was brought into the game right now. This is clearly showing that they want a player not to do cargo hauling, because you can't carry a ton of cargo on here, not to take in ambulance patients and get money from doing medical gameplay, because you can't bring patients up to the second deck on your ship, and not to have a whole bunch of people living here. You have a place for a bed and a little bit of engineering. Like, this is the quintessential solo player ship, and I think this shows that a lot of the stuff that they probably have coming down the pipeline utilizes the stuff in this ship. They're not just going to make the Clipper for no reason. And so this year for me was both a big sign that they are wanting to get more of the large scale gameplay in for groups, but also a huge sign, especially more recently with this, that the solo gameplay is coming together. And it fits in with what they said at the Star Citizen 1.0 panel the year before. You can do a lot of things solo. The only thing you would say is not really enjoyable doing solo is grinding those new missions and Nyx to meet the Vanduul. Yeah, I would say the sandbox activities aren't as good solo. At least the Hathor, Stormbreaker, and... No, even the Nyx one's not bad. It is harder solo for sure. I would say it's not made for solo players. But like the Onyx facility stuff, the resource rush stuff they did, the 60 missions that they added, most of those are solo focused. They just added courier missions back in. We have investigations that are now happening. Cargo hauling is small scale, mining small scale, salvage has small scale. I don't know, like, outside of those 3 sandbox activities, I'm not really sure where it comes from. The Clipper just makes more excited for general ships. Yeah, definitely. You're getting kind of tired about every patch coming out and all the Chicken Littles are declaring the game is dead for this type of player or that, this weapon or the meta. Right, Astromonkey? It's this way of only looking at that update and nothing else. I made a video about that last year, unfortunately, or this year. It didn't do very well. You don't think it's a group versus solo players thing. It's the carrots buying ships being tied to doing FPS theme park sandbox activities content versus doing whatever game loop that's in the game. Well, I would say that's, yeah, but that's not a solo versus group thing. People keep saying it's not a solo focused game. Like, I mean, even in this post right here, solo players are being scared off more and more with each update. I could understand it saying players who want ships easily or players who want to buy ships in the store are getting scared off, and I agree. There are certain ships that are harder to get for solo players. But like, if the only reason you're playing Star Citizen is so that you can have the cool ships, then maybe just only play during Invictus and IAE when you have every ship. I mean, that's a mean thing to say, because like everybody should be able to have every ship, but there are easier times to get the ships. I just think using that as a way to say that this game is becoming less solo focused is disingenuous in my opinion. That being said, the Clipper did come out at a time when there is also a lot of conversation about not so solo focused gameplay. Oh, but we'll get to that. That's right here. First, there was also the MDC. This is not a huge deal. I didn't even touch on the MTC. But both of those vehicles are one and the same chassis that came into the game to offer a new, more of like a 1 to 2 person ground vehicle expert experience. You can carry some stuff with you. You might get a suit locker. With this model specifically, you get a PDC on the top. And that's also big because, again, I think this is yet another thing that helps to emphasize a solo-focused game going forward. In fact, while they advertised this, I'm pretty sure they specifically mentioned that they made this with the idea of people running bunkers and missions that could go inside and have this turret cover them from the outside while they're doing whatever it is they want to do. Let's see if they say that here. It's literally keeping somebody outside to protect you while you're inside doing whatever you want in a point of interest running a mission. that on its own, I think, is naturally going to help solo players play this game a lot more. If it works.
The
It has to
NDC
work.
is the ultimate ground support vehicle that you can take into battle.
It's designed to give you that little bit extra protection.
There's no vehicle that's better to support your team.
The first thing you're going to notice when you see the MDC is the PDT on the back, and Point Defense Turret. The PDT itself is new. It's a ballistic Gatling version of the existing bearing point defense turrets we have elsewhere in the game. Obviously, being a ballistic, it has finite ammo, so this will need to go back to a location to reload. But the trade-off for that is that it has an increased alpha damage, so it is more useful against shielded and armored targets.
So the reason we decided to put a PDT on a ground vehicle was because when you have events like Jumptown, and people are there loading their ships and getting other bits and pieces, you're very vulnerable to attack, giving them a different means to actually defend themselves, or if they're on their own.
So I think that's a good addition, and I want to highlight it because just like with the jump jets on the, where was the freaking, wherever we brought in, we were talking about, yeah, this guy. Just like the jump jets on this guy, I think that the turret on this represents a pretty significant piece of tech that's going to be useful later. They actually were supposed to have AI turrets in the game this year, and they had even put it on the roadmap. Did they take that off? I think it was in the 4.3 section. They had AI FPS turrets, and I think they're gone. Yeah, I guess they must have removed them. So we're still waiting for that, but I do think this is just, they're getting one step closer every time with these kinds of releases, to the point where turrets not only be able to protect our backs, but also will be able to be deployed in cities and stuff where they want to have security that makes sure people with crime stats aren't doing crime statty kind of things. Your point is, it's not about the solo part, it's about the kind of content and if you enjoy it, and the big strength of SC is offering so many different game loops, and only one is viable in this case. Right, but I'm saying, I'm responding to the people who are saying it's about the solo content. Like this is saying it's about solo players. All that update does is make me want to play this broken mess even less. Solo players are being scared off more and more with each update. I don't agree with that. I do believe there is content that people want to be able to play, and not have to play that stuff to get very specific ships. There should be other ways to get that stuff. I agree. But I don't agree that this game is being made worse for solo players. I think that's a wild take, because even with the latest edition, and really the capstone of the year besides maybe VR gameplay coming in, engineering was fully detailed and partially introduced into the game as of this previous patch. And despite weeks upon weeks of people saying it was going to kill solo gameplay, it's yet another thing that I don't think really is. Now, it complicates solo gameplay, or rather it can. Ultimately, I think it's designed to help more. It has problems, it has glitches, the armor isn't working consistently well. The wear and tear is still, I believe, yeah, not even implemented fully. There's plenty of balance that's going to need to be done, and a lot of the ships still have partial or very basic functionality. These are obviously problems with the release of engineering, but this like bubbling up idea that Star Citizen is becoming a not solo player game is not one I agree with. A solo Idris should be locked out. Ships that size should only be cooperative play. However, solo players should have automated systems like fire systems, cargo hauling, fuel refill, and repair. Maybe AI blades for those things. I do think you should be able to fly an Idris by yourself. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you can sit in the chair and control the controls, why not? There does need to be a looking for group app as well. God, that'd be great. And I think those are valid complaints to say that it's making it worse that we don't have those tools for solo players. I'm 100% on board with that, but I mean, that was in the letter from the chairman. They've talked about the fact that they want to... They've shown us the concepts. I'm annoyed that they're not here yet, but it's not like they've outright come and told us, like, we're not going to make it so solo players can play with other players. It's just, they just, like everything else, they're just kind of late on it. But yeah, engineering was a really big addition to the game, one we're still wrapping our heads around. But ultimately, this was the first major feature addition. This was the reason that he had laid out this whole ePTU in the beginning of the year anyways. And unfortunately, it took the entire year for it to happen. But I do think that if it didn't happen, this year would be finishing off much worse in consideration than it is. I think the fact that they were able to actually get turned back to features, testing the Vulkan API, testing combat improvements with FPS NPCs, and testing engineering and getting it into the game, it's definitely... Oh, yeah, this was a good addition. They needed to get this in, I think, before the end of the year. Just so that they could say they're using the ePTU. They're going to save the Nautilus until space stations can be built. So that you can lay mines around space stations. Why would solo players need a looking for group tool? Well, like what Benefit Man was saying, like he doesn't necessarily want to get a group, but he wants to be able to find people to help. Maybe not looking for group, but the beacon system. What? Okay, I think my headphones are malfunctioning. Assuming you guys can all still hear me, I'm just going to reset them. I think looking for group was probably the wrong phrase. I meant beacons. Wouldn't matter, in your opinion. It's supposed to be an MMO catering to solo players, and all MMOs waters down all these games. This is not saying these games shouldn't have some solo content. Yeah, which is what Jared said in the really recent video he did. You recently came back to the game after pledging 12 years ago, and it's feeling really good for solo. Currently looking forward to more. That's good to hear. I'm glad you're having good experiences. You deleted my comment? I'm out? No. But okay. Game runs better on your potato than ever. You're happy with that? Fact. Still SC live things work when they want to still work. So that's like the big hits of the year. Now I actually completely forgot to follow these polls, but I think now we can take that time at the beginning of this talk to to look over how people were feeling positivity-wise throughout the year. You play solo 90% of the time, nothing has changed dramatically for you, but you're not in for combat either. Sentinel Mob, you solo most of the game? You never played SC till IAE and ran it solo and didn't touch all the solo gameplay there is to offer. Nurgle? Okay. Lost Cigar, you said you do space trucking solo? You agree to all your points. I've watched the Clipper video today where you talk about that, and I agree. In my opinion, these complaints stem from a place where there's an argument to be made about progression. Yeah. My problem is always just that people are making arguments for things that they don't mean. And that obviously makes it harder for CIG to fix those arguments, if that's a problem. You know, people are like, hey, you should split everything into private and public servers. But maybe first we should get CIG to make sure people are actually safe in this game, because there is no safety. It's kind of trying to jump ahead of the problem to fix something that's not, that might, you know, result in things getting worse. Anyways, let's talk about the happiness, huh? Starting with the first month of the year. You know what, I think I have a poll for this, yeah. So I stopped tracking around August because, well, I just wasn't. But I'll fill this out soon, and I'm going to make a video about this whole thing. But if we go to, let's get rid of some of these tabs. This is a lot of tabs. That was a freaking ton of tabs, man. Holy crap. Okay. Now, our first poll had 10% of people being happy. This is out of 6,000 votes. 10% of people were happy, 23% were unhappy. Let me see the results, folks, are almost always the same, around 10%. And the coasting folks are always generally between 50 and 60%. We will likely only see the happy and not happy numbers fluctuating here. I'll make this bigger for you guys so you can actually see. And we're not going to spend a ton of time on these. I'm just going to scroll through and find each one, and we'll compare the numbers. You remember them yourself, if you can. But I can touch on up here as well as we go through at least the first half. So January, 10% happy, 23% unhappy. Jumping forward a little bit. Hey, this is when we were moving out back to Turkey. I'm so glad we're not moving back and forth like this anymore. February, much less votes at 2.7%. 10% of people said they were happy, 22% said unhappy. Is most relatively the same numbers, same balance. Forward to March, we had 18% of people suddenly saying they were happy, with 17% saying they were not happy. A little bit of a movement on both of those. But going forward to April, from 18% we rose to 21% people happy, 12% unhappy. So the beginning of the year was a pretty solid, let's see, happy votes were here. Yeah, so around March, it passed up. And going into April, there is more positivity, I guess, than not. Following month was here we go. This would have been May, I believe. 23% of people said they were happy, but 19% said they were unhappy. It was definitely, yeah. So, you know, there were things happening, and I think the biggest thing to note from these numbers is a lot of times this has to do with whatever is happening right in the beginning of that, like at that time, that month, that day. People are very much answering short term rather than long term. So take these all with a grain of salt. This is May. Usually I'm putting this in on like the 21st of the month. Yeah, 23rd of the month. So this would have been right after the Flight Blade stuff, right after the Idris release, and they had the right after they did like the the releases of new Idrises and all that kind of stuff. So there might be some emotions mixed up in there. But we jump forward into June. And oh god, this is when we moved back to Turkey and my graphics card, my capture card was breaking. Oh my god, those were difficult months, folks. Moving forward again, 16% said they were happy, but 17% said they were unhappy. So the tide has turned. It originally started with more people being unhappy in the previous year. But by this point, that unhappiness number had climbed to 19%. And finally, the happy number had dropped down. And so we were having, you know, it was tipping a little bit. It's summertime. People getting hot and stuff. You know how it is. Forward a bit more. This is August, I believe. Only 9% of people were happy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this was 32% of people said they were not happy. I believe this was when the resource rush had first kicked off, and for a lot of people it just was not working out. Ooh. Yeah, this is that was a rough month. So August, it was getting hefty. Can confirm. I was getting a lot of actually, this was around the time I started Space Games Weekly. Now, I've always wanted to expand outside of Star Citizen. That's why our channel name and branding and stuff is not Star Citizen related. I want to do Space Game stuff. But obviously I wanted to wait until I felt like there were enough people who were watching and interested in the content that I could do Space Game stuff and not like see this huge drop off every time I tried it. The way that YouTube works, it doesn't work out. So I tried to release Space Games Weekly as like a weekly sort of here's what's going on in Space Games thing, if that wasn't apparent. And it did okay, but ultimately it hurt the YouTube channel a lot. When you release a video on YouTube, what YouTube tries to do is it analyzes every single person who watches YouTube videos, and then it looks at the videos you watch, the people that watch that video that are like you, and it makes this whole sort of like chart of your viewing habits compared to other people's viewing habits, and then it delivers you the videos based on that. It's a little weird. It sounds really straightforward, but it's super hardcore based on the not just like the exact video you watched, but how that video relates to other videos that other people have watched. So if you do a video about multiple topics, you'll get people from all different places clicking onto that video. And the people who click onto that video are obviously not looking for the same game you are. So then YouTube doesn't know if it's to suggest another video that you would both watch from that same person, or a video that maybe they had watched about another game that's like them. And the more that it can not do those kinds of suggestions, the less it suggests your video. So when I started releasing videos that were about other games, unfortunately, nobody was that interested. So YouTube took that as a sign that the video is too confusing and it couldn't suggest it to anyone. So I stopped doing those. But that's all relevant because this is around the time that doing Star Citizen content was getting a little bit slow throughout the year, and I thought it was a good time to branch out. It was not. But it was fun. It was fun while it lasted, and it's something I'll do again sometime in the future when I can. As we move forward in the year, though, September had 6,000 voters. More happy than unhappy again. Look at that. 17% happy compared to 16% unhappy. Tide's turning, but it's still pretty close. The very next month, did I do this twice? Did I just not make any posts in between the months? Interestingly, I don't know when this one was exactly. That's going to be tough to figure out, but the next one I did actually had people being less happy than happy again. So if we go forward another year or another month. Okay, so this one would be after CitizenCon. Again, less people are happy than not happy. So CitizenCon did not pick people up, it seems. Assuming these are the same people. And November. Overall current feelings have 27% of people happy compared to 11% of people unhappy. A huge swing. And this could have been the release of Nyx. It could have been the release of the Perseus. It could have been the release of the Clipper. I don't know. But clearly in November, they really hit it off with making people feel a little bit better about the game. And at that point, now we're here. And you know what? It's that time of the month, guys. So why don't we go ahead and do the next poll together? The final poll of 2026. I should say poll, like a Polish person. And we'll put in the same options as always. $2025. Sorry guys, I'm excited. Let's go. It's a new year, dude. 2025 sounds so old now. We're not old, right? All right, let's see what the year final finishes off with.
Wrong year. Think you wait too many hours.
Hey, Ruben. I'm sorry I missed your sub earlier, dude. I've been really distracted with this video, huh? Thank you so much for the sub, my friend. I hope you're having a lovely, lovely day and week. Well, actually, no, I did say thanks when you rated, when Citizen Her rated. Fate Akido, thank you for the sub, man, and for the 100 series from Origin. Still one of my favorite ships. I appreciate you. And Crawl Nice, thank you as well for the sub. Much love to you. So this poll is actively up there. You can go ahead and answer it if you'd like. I'm sure some people have. And we'll see what the final feelings are. But ultimately, this has been most of 2025. A very, very, very long summary of it. Good luck getting through it. But For anybody who does, I hope you got an idea of what happened in 2025 in Star Citizen, the meandering path that we took, and where we might be heading from here. I didn't cover everything. There was still some stuff happening in these late days and stages. The VR stuff is a big deal, but I think this is most of the big points, so hope you get something out of it. And with that, maybe a word from Toby. We'll see. I think now is as good a time as any for us to do a giveaway. You guys want to see who won that clipper today?
Don't forget to eat your olives.
Feel like 2025 was good. Looking forward to 26. Chill. You're numb. Where does that fit in the poll? I think that's just let me see what other people are saying. You really enjoy the content. Have a great Christmas and a successful New Year. Thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for watching the content and for being here in chat. Even if we have a little disagreements, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for the bits, Maverick. And Blazer Prime. The progress in SC is hopping in a starter ship and working your way up to afford bigger, better ships, ultimately working up to the expensive endgame ships. Does it have to be bigger, though? Like, I would love if the MSR was the end game for my kind of gameplay, you know? Like, do I have to get a bigger ship to be good at data running? Let me go double check on the giveaway. And we'll get that going. Okay. All right. Y'all ready? Oi! You ready to see who won this ship? The Drake Clipper from, well, Drake is going to be one of your lovely, lovely daily drivers. Oh, I assume it's a daily driver. Maybe you don't like cool ships and you don't drive it daily, but I would guess and hope that it will be your one person's new daily driver here in the chat. Mrs. Tomato is about to pull the winner, so I hope you got your last entries in. And don't worry, we still have the Drake Golem giveaway able to be entered. It's just that the Clipper ended over the weekend. Drum roll, please. It's gonna show up in chat. It's gonna show up in chat. It's gonna show up in chat. Here it comes. Trulin! Come on, keep clapping. Hell yeah, dude. Okay, they're done. Good job, man. Congratulations to Trulin if you're in the chat. I don't know if you are in the chat. But if you are, I hope you enjoy your Drake Clipper. We will get that to you as soon as we can. Please get in contact with Mrs. Tomato. We will also email you at whatever email address you signed up with. But obviously, if you don't answer us, then we will be re-rolling the giveaway, or rather giving it away again, whatever you say. We'll give you a couple of weeks. Again, check your email. If you're watching this after the fact, go take a looky look. Either way, there is still a giveaway for the Drake Golem going on, folks, and we'll be pulling that one at our New Year's stream next week, where we'll probably have 1 or 2 other giveaways going at that time. So hope you can come and make it and check it out and have a good time and join us. And with that, folks, this stream has gone so much longer than even I was planning on doing it today, and we started late already, so I'm going to go ahead and pass you on to another lovely Star Citizen streamer today so you can continue to enjoy the beautiful sounds of the verse. While I go and get some more video work done for you. We got one more video coming out in Christmas. And a couple Space Tomato 2 videos coming out soon. Remember that I just released a video early. If you are a supporter on Twitch or YouTube, you can go and check that out in the supporter alerts section on Discord. It's basically just reviewing 2025 like I just did, but in the space of like 10 minutes rather than 2 hours. Don't see your post on X? The poll was on, this is on YouTube. This is on my YouTube page. I didn't do that one on Twitter. All right, y'all. Have a good time. Go get into some giveaways, get some hype. I'm going to drop you over with Indrosa. He's an ADI streamer and an old friend. You guys have a great time today. Enjoy yourselves. Treat yourselves well. You deserve good things. You know, all that jazz. I will see you on Wednesday. We're going to do a little bit of a New Year's Eve stream. We'll have a cooking stream as well and some good fun. You guys are great. Much love. See you in the next one.